I think there were a lot of reasons. I think perhaps the main reason was I can relate to him. Because he was shy. He wasn't that successful with girls. He had to worry about his family. I think most teenagers reading it thought to themselves, hey, that could be me, you know. So there certainly was that identification.
Right.
But beyond that, I must say truthfully, I think Steve and I came up with some great stories and some great villains.
Right.
You know, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, the Sandman, and everything worked. And visually, the story was
character
great,
too.
because the way Steve would have him crawling on walls and swinging on webs, and it just everything came together perfectly.
And it's very one of the very few comic book characters, even back then, that was covered from head to toe. Like, if Captain America, you still have this much of his face. Spider-Man's completely enveloped in his costume.
Oh, you know the good thing about that?
Yes.
You could be any kid.
Yeah.
You could be black, you could be Asian, you could be Indian, you could be anything, and imagine you were in that costume.
Right.
So I think that made it relevant to everybody everywhere, and that was accidental. I mean, I don't think we planned it that way, but it was very fortuitous.
You get credited with, and I know you're not even comfortable with it, with creator of this, and you're always the first person in the room to point out that it wasn't just you. As you said before, it was a very collaborative medium. And I know there are people that, in the case of Jack Kirby, there must be a point of contention between Stan and Jack, blah, blah, blah. And that's not the case. Let's talk about
Well, what happened was, Steve is really the guy who brought this to a point. Obviously, Spider-Man was my idea.
Yes.
Even gave it to Jack first, didn't want it, then gave it to Steve. Steve feels, since he drew it and gave it life, so to speak, that he created it as much as I did. Now, in my heart of hearts, I feel the guy who comes up with the concept is the guy who created
the father,
it.
sure.
But Steve feels, and I hope he doesn't, when he sees this, doesn't feel I'm quoting him wrong. He feels that the person who physically gives it life is the co-creator. Otherwise, all I had was an idea, which was nothing solid. Now, while I don't really agree with that, I have enough respect for Steve and for the other artists that I am very happy and very comfortable to call myself the co-creator of all of these things.
And you coined the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility, which is everyone that knows Spider-Man knows that line.
You know, it's funny, I never thought it would catch on that way, but sometimes people will meet me and say, hey, didn't you do Spider-Man? I'll say, yeah. They say, with great power comes... It's incredible. I love it.
So at what point do you hand over the reins of Spider-Man, and to whom? And was that tough?
Well, artistically, Steve eventually left after, 20, 30, 40, some amount of books. And John Romita took over as the artist. And I said to him, John, John doesn't draw like Steve. His style is different. But I said, we don't want to disturb the readers by suddenly seeing a totally different style. Do you think you could make it look like Steve for a while? Bless him, he did such a great job. Those first few issues looked like Steve had done them. But then, little by little, he began to draw it in his own style, and it became his strip. And years later, other artists took over, and no matter how it was drawn, no matter who drew it, the strip was always, I'm happy to say, powerful and successful.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends talking nerdy.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special bonus episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousma.
And I'm Sterling Wilson.
And this is an episode that I did not want to make, but knew it had to be coming here. This is our full tribute to Stan Lee. Sterling and I will be talking for however long it takes to get the words out about Stan Lee, his effect on comics, his effect on pop culture, and just talking about some of the characters he created. But yeah, I mean, when did you hear the news?
I woke up. Usually when I wake up, I check email, check social media just to see if there's anything weird going down in like downtown Portland. Mm-hmm. And that was just all over my feed was just Stan Lee died. And I was like, okay. Stan Lee dyed his hair. You know, I've seen that, spoof thing so many times. And I was like, okay, I don't think Stan Lee died. And then, actually, it turns out, go through reading it, and yes, he in fact did pass away.
Yeah.
And I waited a little bit. Let the feed fill up with a bunch of stuff, and took the time. And at the end of the day, I actually wrote a nice little piece about how he made me feel, some of the experiences I got to share with him actually in person, which was amazing. And it was pretty emotional because, like, you and I feel like are usually the comic book people in all of our friends' lives.
Yeah.
So, like, everybody's like, dude, did you hear? And I'm like, yeah, I heard.
I actually had a guy at work. I mean, he meant well, but he was like, I'm sorry for your loss. And I'm like, what loss? Stan Lee. And I'm like,
yes.
It's not a family member.
Yes.
I was sad. But
I was sad, yeah.
Yeah, calm down.
But it's very interesting being that person. Like, for other people, when they hear nerd news, they talk to you.
Yeah.
And, like, even more so after the show, like, after we've started doing this, like, even my parents will be like, did you hear? And I'm like, I did. It's really sad.
Or I kind of feel bad for the people that do that, but bring up topics that I have, like, absolutely no interest in whatsoever. And I'm like, yeah, I heard. I don't care.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I try, like, especially when there's, like, stuff that just, like, is not my shtick. Mm-hmm. Like weird 12 to 24 long book series where it's like, oh, have you read this? Like, Under the Golden Sun of the Red Rambo, whatever. And I'm like, no, I have not even heard of that ever. And they're like, you should do a show. You should do a show about this. And I'm like,
no.
I would have to read all 24 books. And they're like, get started. But yeah, I'm going to be honest. I did tear up a little bit and it was really sad. But again, I believe he passed away at the age of 95.
Yeah.
The guy had a good run.
Oh.
If you were to put that in a comic book run, man, that would be a great run.
Yeah, I mean, I commented about it on Monday with that little 10-minute little blurb I posted up. The first time I ever went solo on the show, which was awkward. But, just talking about his impact. And, he's done a hell of a lot. And I'm sure we'll go through some of this here. But Stanley Martin Lieber, born in 1922, got a job at this place called Timely Comics thanks to a relative. He wasn't even, he read a lot. If you listen to some of his documentaries, you'll hear that, he had, there was like an essay contest that one of the New York newspapers had, and he won it like 2 months in a row. And his little brother, thought of him like a god because his parents always, talked about, Stan did this, Stanley did that. But yeah, he got into comics, worked for a good 20 years just slogging through, not really doing anything that creatively satisfied the need, but it paid him good money.
Yeah.
And then 1961 hit, and he was getting to the point to where he was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Getting a little itchy.
Yeah, so he was like, I think I'm going to quit. And he was talking to his wife, and his wife was like, if you're on your way out, might as well just write something that you do like, because if they're going to fire you, you wanted to leave anyway. Yeah. What's it going to hurt? And that comic was the Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four.
It is bad that they have not had a proper translation to either television or movies as of yet.
It is not only depressing, but it makes me hate the studios that keep trying just to hang on to the intellectual property rights.
And I get why companies do that, because they view it as a business, and why would they? Because every company these, after Alan Ladd Jr. at 20th Century Fox signed over all sequel rights and merchandising rights to Star Wars to George Lucas, no company wanted to be in that spot again, that they let something go that becomes, billions of dollars for somebody else. So I get business-wise why they do that, but the more companies just slog away at, making bad interpretation after bad interpretation of these characters, you're going to kill the public's interest in these characters.
Well, a lot of intellectual property, like the X-Men, they stopped making new X-Men just to prevent material.
Because if they created a new X-Men character, then at the time, 20th Century Fox would be able to use that character, put them in the movies, and make tons of money off of it. Because these days, comic books are really, they're at the point now to where it doesn't matter the type of genre, they're really where ideas start these days for a lot of
And
stuff.
honestly, I think that's why we saw a very large absence in the Fantastic Four. I feel like they were just trying to get them out of the public eye for a while.
Yep.
Just to stop the movies from happening.
And it was funny. There was a Punisher series where Punisher was in L.A. fighting street gangs, but they had one issue to where they were in Hollywood and they had these 4 actors that looked like the actors from the Fantastic Four movie
no.
commenting, and then they go, "What's that outside?" And then somebody blew up the building that they were in. And that's another thing too. Josh Trank actually broke his silence on Twitter and said, "I didn't do well with your characters, but I'm so sad you passed away, Stan Lee."
Yeah.
Which, good for him for doing that.
And I was going to say, at least a lot of them understand that, it probably wasn't the most well received.
Oh, God, no.
Now, I will like to say, I forget the name of the guy who played the Thing in the
new one?
Not the newest one. The one where...
With Jessica Alba?
Yes.
That's Michael Chiklis.
Michael Chiklis does an amazing thing in the fact that that voice, that's all him. That's not any re-editing, redubbing, whatever. That's his voice that he has been doing for the Thing since he was in his 20s. He wanted to be the Thing bad.
He's a great actor. I remember him as a kid on Stephen, I think it was either a Stephen Bochco or Stephen J. Cannell show called The Commish. Before that, he was actually in this movie called Wired, which was based on the Bob Woodward book about John Belushi. But the writers of the film knew that Belushi's estate didn't like Bob Woodward's account in that. So the film was half goofing on the book, but half, trying to pretend, which was a whole mess altogether. But Chiklis is a really good actor, and I thought he did really good with the Thing, but I do think the outfit they had him wear, it was much worse than what they did. We were talking about it before we were recording. The 1994 unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four film had a better outfit for the Thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate to say, at the time, CGI would have been really bad.
Well, we're talking the early 2000s. That's well after. They already had a character in Jar Jar Binks that was fully computer animated that was able to function in that film. So I think they could have done it.
You even saw that with the Silver Surfer, and he looked okay, but it still wasn't great. I
think hopefully, since it looks like we're weeks away from the deal with Disney, with Disney and Fox being finalized. What I would like to see them.
Give me 2 more excuse me, and I'll leave you.
Yeah, thanks for the editing. Catholic guilt coming out, folks. No, I didn't grow up Catholic, but my aunt was Catholic and went through typical Irish Catholic. She married into an Irish Catholic family and 7 kids. All had those massive, super long Catholic wedding ceremonies. And I'm sure you probably know about it.
We're all Catholic in our family.
You have to have a full mass, and then you have the ceremony. When you're 10 years old at one of those things, you just want to do anything.
Oh yeah. Well, you get a really large party afterwards, and then you're like, okay.
But that's the funny thing, though. My aunt, her first husband, unfortunately passed away. But about a decade later, she was able to meet somebody new and had a new wedding and all that. But hers was done in about 20 minutes. But yeah, the Fantastic Four, what I would like to see them do is utilize them on a show on the new Disney Plus app coming
That'd be
up
cool.
next year,
That'd be
because I think with that group, I think they are better suited for more long-form storytelling.
You have a lot of characters and a lot of backstory to deal with, because you can get them from as young as like teenagers, like teenager Reed Richards, and like you could even do like a back and forth through time kind of thing. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I think would, and we've talked about it in previous shows. I think last time we talked about it was the unfortunate Steve Ditko episode we had to do.
Yeah, dude, so many people in comic books are dying.
Yeah, but still in their 90s. I mean,
Yeah,
they live a long life.
yeah.
But I think the idea from Movie Bob, one of my favorite movie critics, of, the end of Avengers 4, everybody celebrating, then an opening in the quantum rift, and 4 scientists who disappeared in 1961 appear. That would allow them to not have to do an origin story, but they can do, fish out of water type of story. The characters are already established, but I
would love like Steve Rogers being like, "You look familiar," to the Human Torch.
That would be funny, but unfortunately, he's not. He's going to be gone at the end of Avengers 4.
I heard we're losing a lot of people. I don't want to like spoil anything, but a lot of the actors did not renew their contracts.
Yeah,
which I understand.
That makes sense. I mean, I think the fact that they opened up the multiverse with Doctor Strange and whatnot, we're going to, like I said before, we're going to see those characters again. And I mean, something like Loki, they've already announced a Loki TV series for Disney Plus.
Looks pretty cool.
They've announced Falcon and Winter Soldier show.
I am so it's going to be a buddy cop movie. Like I swear to God, and it's going to be great. It looks really really.
Yeah,
funny.
I mean, in Civil War they did not have many scenes together, but just
their chemistry on screen was great.
Yeah, just the scene in the car when they see Steve kissing Sharon Carter, with the Falcon just nodding.
Can you move up your chair? No.
All right, so Fantastic Four were created, and then Marvel started making money. But the weird thing about that, they were lucky, too, because I didn't realize that the distributor they were using was owned by DC.
Yeah.
So DC was actually...
They almost had the rights to a lot of Marvel comics.
Well, what they were doing, once they noticed that Marvel was actually making some money, they would make it really hard for Marvel to publish those comics. So I think they ultimately went to another publisher after that. But, they went from the Fantastic Four to the Incredible Hulk. What a character there. I mean, the first time I heard of the character, of course, was the Bill Bixby show from the 70s.
I heard of it through the late 80s, early 90s cartoon.
Yeah. Well, it was unique for me. I mean, because the Incredible Hulk TV show, that character is nothing like the character in the comics. It's really a different story.
He was like animalistic too. Like I remember the episode he fought a bear. That was cool. But it's like the Hulk fighting a bear.
Yeah, and by today's special effects standards, they look stupid as hell. But,
I mean, like you have an amazing person like Lou Ferrigno, and like that is like the coolest thing. You have someone who has a disability who even to this day is known as the Incredible Hulk. And it speaks past generations.
Yeah, when I went to Wizard World with Portland, I think that was the one celebrity that almost awed Mora, but in a way that
he's so big still. He's jacked.
I mean, I shook his hand and was just like, "Hello, Mr. Hulk, sir."
Don't call me Hulk.
Yeah. But the Incredible Hulk TV show, they actually the producers made it essentially. They made that story into a modern day Les Miserables.
I loved it. It was a really great commentary because, like, yeah, man, like you have everybody has anger issues. Everybody is afraid of losing control. And I don't know about you, but I've always been big all my life. And even when I was little, like I would play with kids and I'd get like frustrated or I'd get angry. And because of my size, I could actually hurt people.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
It's a sterling smash.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many times I heard that. I accidentally broke a kid's finger one time just because I was like, do the Mercy game.
Yeah.
Yeah, broke his finger. And
as they would call in the WWE, the Greco-Roman knuckle lock.
Yes. And it was really, really cool to see someone like that. Like, hey, like, I'm big too. Like, you got to be careful. Don't lose your temper.
And I think that was the beauty of not only the Hulk, but, the Marvel characters as a whole. The fact that they did treat Bruce Banner's anger issues as realistic as possible. I mean, I've dealt with anger issues myself. I mean, I know if my ex-wife were listening to this, she's like, you better say so. But thinking of that, I've, dealing with the anger issues, I've come to, realize that people that deal with anger issues are a lot like alcoholics in the fact that, you could not have any issues with anger for the longest time, but it would just take one event that will just make you irrational. Like, I remember the Lost episode we recorded here. That was the last time, after we were done recording that, I got angry after it, and I was talking about other stuff, but a lot of it was just venting at some of the nonsense that happened that night, and I immediately had to walk out, and
I remember you just like you were like, bye, gone, and I was like, fuck,
fuck. And the two people that Ray and the other human
she who
being,
must not be named.
Oh, I got other names. But they were trying to call after me, but I had, my headphones in, the music up, I had to get out.
Yeah.
And, it's thinking of characters like the Hulk, that...
Relatable characters.
Relatable characters that can also give you balance, because people with anger issues, people that have any sort of negative issues at all, tend to have the feeling that you're the only one that goes through them.
Yeah.
And especially being tall, especially having the ability to hurt, even scare someone.
Dude, I was walking around campus when I was in college. There were these sharp right angle corridors in one of the buildings, and I'm almost 7 feet tall, played basketball, so I was in like college athletics fitness, and I turn this corner, and this small lady bumps into me. She probably did not come up past my belly button, and she, I guess, was hustling pretty quickly, so she, like, hit me pretty hard, and she fell straight to the ground and cried and screamed and ran away. And I was just, like, sitting there, and, like, people are looking at me just stunned, like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. And it, like, you have to adjust how you talk to people. You have to adjust your approach. You can't just be like, right up to them, like, hey, can I ask you a question? And then they, like, look at you. They see your chest. They look up at you, and they're like, shit. Like, give me back up. Like, give me a foot.
Yeah.
And then you got these assholes who are, like, trying to prove a point or, like, trying to show they're tough. And they're like, I'm going to take out the biggest dude in here. And it's like, I'm a fucking teddy bear, bro. Like,
that was the best thing about high school, though, for me. I mean, I wasn't popular, but I also wasn't one of the people that were ostracized. I was in the middle. But the good thing about being 6'5" in high school is that the people that would really get in your face are the ones you probably wouldn't want to mess with in the first place.
Totally.
I mean, if I was 5 foot tall, then some other people would probably try and give me shit, but I didn't have to deal with that.
I remember being in gym class, and I'm just standing there talking to somebody, and I get a right hook out of nowhere. And I, like, take it on the chin, and I'm just like, what the hell was that all about? And then the kid just shits his pants because he hit me as hard as he could and is just like, he just shrugged it off, And I'm like, why the fuck did you hit me? And I'm like, I'm not even mad. Just tell me why.
No, I have to beat your ass on principle.
No,
come on.
I remember the one time I actually got in a fight at school, this dude... my brother is, like, showing me this thing he made in ceramics class. It took him 2 weeks to make, and it looks super cool. It's like a turtle with a gas mask, and, like, the teacher was like, oh, this is, like, a really good commentary on our political, like, fighting in the middle. And I was like, I was just like, bro, it's a turtle, like, and he takes it and just fucking smashes it on the ground. and then runs away. So, like, my older brother too. So, like, my older brother's holding it. This kid takes it out of his hand and smashes it, and then starts running away. And I just start sprinting, like, to essentially cut him off.
Yeah.
And I, like, he's running in a long arc, and I just beeline it to, like, cut him off, and I clotheslined him. And I remember just, like, wanting to rip him apart, and I'm just like, everybody's looking. There's, like, yard duty all over the place. Like, I'm just going to let you go.
If you did that outside, then people would think, well, why is that adult trying to beat that kid?
Oh, my God.
Fuck you.
He was, like, 5'2" as well. That was, like, oh, God. But, like, you get it. Like, you get these characters where you are angry or you want to do things like that. And it's a nice commentary, like, where it's like, hey, man, rein it in.
Yeah.
Or, like, yeah, sometimes it's kind of good to let loose. Sometimes you need to, but...
And, yeah, I mean, I think of what was it, Ed Norton Incredible Hulk movie. I did like the fact that, you know, he was making that concerted effort, you know, to do yoga, do all that stuff. And then, you know, 12 days since the last time I was angry. You know, which it may sound silly, but, you know, sometimes some people need to do that. They need to, you know, keep fighting for that. And, again, that I think that's one aspect of pop culture, of comic books and movies that people don't get, is that it does allow people to relate about topics like this, because again, people don't really talk about it when they really should.
Yeah.
You know, people should, you know, say, hey, I do have this problem, because then they'll more than likely get it fixed.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, and that was one of my favorite things about a lot of Stan Lee's characters. They're smart. Mm-hmm. You know, like they're professors or like scientists, or just, I mean, you have the Thing, but he was a damn good pilot, and you have Reed Richards, who's like the smartest guy in the world, roughly and debatably. I don't want to get into that. Like who's the smartest Marvel hero?
Yeah, we don't want the Reed Richards Hank Pym dick measuring contest going on.
Oh my God. Have you ever read the comic book where, like, Reed Richards is like, I understand you you discovered the Pym particle, but I feel like I understand it better than you. and then Hank Pym is just like, Reed? And he's like, yes. And he's like, it's on, bitch. And I was like, what? Oh my God. Oh my God. Love that shit.
Yeah. And some of the other characters he created, like my favorite, Spider-Man. You know?
Spider-Man.
Smart guy, but I do like the fact that for most of his run, apart from the Dan Slott era, and I don't know if they're necessarily continuing on with that now. But
they are.
He's back to being just a regular guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when you say regular guy, like he doesn't
working for the Bugle, not part of doesn't own a national corporation. He's not rich anymore?
I don't want to spoil anything because it's like still in its current run. But he did own his own company. It's kind of like toned down a little bit, but like he's got his doctorate. Dr. Octopus helped him get his doctorate. Did you read that?
No.
Oh God. So Dr. Octopus took over Peter Parker's body in Superior Spider-Man. Spoiler alert, whatever. And he's taking in an audit of Peter Parker's life, and is like, this kid is super smart, super strong, has all these powers, and what is he doing with his life? And he is like, I need my doctorate for what I want to do. And he was so close to getting his doctorate. Like, Peter Parker was literally very close to getting his doctorate, and he makes Peter Parker get his doctorate. And oh my God, it was so funny because like they covered topics like plagiarism because he's got Dr. Octopus in his head. So guess what he's going to do? He's going to rip off a bunch of Dr. Octopus's work.
Right.
And this guy's like, you're ripping off Dr. Octopus's work. And he was a friend and a colleague and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, bro, Dr. Octopus is dead. And I'm like his legacy. You know, Peter Parker, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, my God, it was so good. If you can get, like, a trade of just the Superior Spider-Man run, I strongly recommend it because Dan Slott is one of my favorite writers of all time. He took something very controversial and worked through it through all the death threats, all of the angry hate mail and stuff like that, and came up with one of the best serieses, one of the best progressions of a character, and some of the best art style I've ever seen with him and Humberto Ramos. I have a lot of work from Humberto.
Yeah.
And he did an amazing run. And I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for it because it is wonderful. And when I see a character like Spider-Man developing in a way that Stan Lee looks at it and is like, awesome. Because Stan Lee publicly came out and was like, this is great. And you even asked him a question where you were like, hey, out of all the characters you've created, where do you feel like
what character do you think other creators have made better?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a great question, and I thought that was a great question. I don't think he heard you. Like he had the translator lady next to him. If you've watched Tim's video of him asking Stan Lee,
it's not like I haven't talked about it a lot.
But if I could point to one writer who wrote Spider-Man very, very well, it was Dan Slott. And I can't say enough nice things about the guy. And just a great suit. Just a really great suit for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched upon that because, we were talking about that before we started about some of the wacky people on social media. Like last week, the part 2 of the Star Wars discussion, we've recently started featuring some charities that, we feel you should support here.
And it's a personal opinion. We feel like you should support them. If you don't, I understand.
Yeah, but
that's okay.
But one of them that we focused on was Mark Wade with his GoFundMe for his legal support because some of the scumbags from Comicsgate, are using some of their intimidation methods to try and keep him quiet.
So I didn't know too much about Comicsgate, and that because we showcased it on our show and on our website, I actually looked into it a lot more, and I was very shocked because he just likes to have a diverse and robust cast, and sometimes they're popular, sometimes they're not. I understand, but hate mail, I can understand like critiquing. Yeah. But death threats and like racist slurs, I don't think are acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
No, I mean, imagine at the movies with Siskel and Ebert where they watch Ernest Goes to Jail and they said Jim Varney should be publicly executed. That would be ridiculous.
No.
I mean, Ernest Goes to Jail should never have been made. And it's open for critique. I mean, our podcast is open for critique. If people listen to our show and want to publicly make a comment that I think it's great or I think it's shit, they have every right to.
Yeah, but you should also give us a 5-star review so that you can get entered in for a drawing for a very nice lithograph of
Ninja Bot.
Yeah.
From Kylo. Yeah.
We got a very nice picture of Kylo Ren going on right now, and you want to get into that drawing, shift, punch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Shameless self-promotion. There we go. Shameless self-promotion. We got that out of the way. But I was happy to learn about that, which just being aware of it, I can show my support for him.
Yeah.
But I have been seeing a lot of stuff lately where, people are like, diversity in comics now. Like, if I was a comic book fan now growing up versus a comic book fan then growing up, I wouldn't have been a comic book fan. And it's like, dude, we like Stan Lee creating Spider-Man. Like, he made a teenager. He was like one of the first teenager superheroes.
Or diversity. He created Black Panther.
Yeah.
And we'll go into this a bit, but obviously there are other people that helped with that creation. I'm not saying he's the only one who created it, of course, but Black Panther, he had a king that was African American, that was African, not African American, African, the king of Wakanda who kicked ass. You had Luke Cage, wrongly imprisoned. Luke Cage was a play off the blaxploitation films at the time, but they were important, and Luke Cage was a very important character.
Yeah,
and
Heroes for Hire is wonderful, by the way.
Hopefully that goes on the Disney Plus app. I mean,
That'd be fun.
It seems Netflix is canceling a lot of the Marvel stuff.
Well, it's probably because they're getting picked up for other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully. But you see a guy like Stan who started diversity in comic books. Like, you got Superman running over cars and picking up cars, jumping over tall buildings. That's great. How about this high school kid who had his uncle die and has a lot of time dealing with utilizing his powers in a positive manner or like taking advantage of them.
And that's another thing about Spider-Man 2. I mean, the first issue in Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man was an asshole.
Yeah.
Peter Parker was an asshole. I mean, the only reason after he got bit by that spider, what did he want to do? Become a rustler so he can make money.
Make a bunch of money.
Yeah, and it was through his inaction, similar to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, of letting a guy steal from that wrestling promoter and walk on by without stopping him, that led to the death of Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of, what if you found out that Bruce Wayne was somehow the cause of his parents getting killed? That was not the case.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne was just an innocent victim, but Peter Parker had a part, unintentionally, in his uncle's death, and that guilt, you didn't see characters have that back then.
Totally. That had a huge impact on me as a kid. Honestly, man, like, just doing the right thing, even when it's not the most
popular thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of Amazing Fantasy, the greatest line in comic history: with great power comes great responsibility. I mean, wise words to live by, if ever there were. And I think with Stan, what he was able to do, what Marvel was able to do, much better than DC. I think they knew how to tap into the hero's journey type of story.
And you had a lot of connections with the hero, too. Like, with Spider-Man, you get a lot of the girl, the work, breaking your back to kind of help everybody, to please everybody. And, like, it's so relatable. It's all so relatable.
Yeah, whereas with DC, I'm not a DC hater.
Yeah.
I love DC comics. But my critique of them is that their main focus for the longest time and still has been on the big three. They don't really have as much of a focus on those smaller characters. Now, some of the TV shows as of late have kind of helped with that.
Totally.
The CW with Arrow, with Legends of Tomorrow. The Flash was...
I like the Flash.
I love the Flash. I mean, I remember watching the original Flash in 1990.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you see they did the Reworld skin or something?
Elseworld.
Yeah, dude. They got him to play the Flash. They got the original Flash who plays his dad in the show to play the Flash, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
And during that show, when he's on, the title cards they will have for the Flash are gonna be the ones that they use for the 1990s.
Oh God, I love that. God,
but again, though, their characters don't really. They're good characters, but they're not as relatable to the average person. I mean, Oliver Queen is a rich guy.
Yeah, well, Bruce Wayne, billionaire.
Bruce Wayne, yeah. And Superman, an alien from another planet who, at times in the comics, was able to blow out a sun with just his breath.
Yep. Diana, I mean, she's an Amazon goddess, so it's like, yeah.
Something to enjoy there.
Well, yeah. But it focused on the hero than the person.
Yeah.
Because, like, a lot of the characters, you didn't actually even know who they were until they were like, oh, yeah, let's talk about, like, who Bruce Wayne is. Let's talk about where Superman's from. And where I think Marvel focused on was like, hey, this is Bruce Banner. This is Peter Parker. Like, these are characters, and they just happen to have superpowers.
Yeah, I mean, the story was about the human, not the character they portrayed. So,
speaking of humans,
yeah,
X-Men. An amazing creation by Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm. And he has gone on record. The reason I asked Stan the question that I did, I know he's been on record stating that, people like Chris Claremont and others that came after did so much more with the X-Men than he originally had. But, yeah, for all the people that, proclaim that there should be, that comics should be apolitical, no.
They've never not been political.
Well, they are a reflection of the times you're going to be in. They're always going to have some bent on some political type of bent based on who's creating them.
Totally.
And, when you have, someone who is a good soul at the end of the day, like Stan, who believes in diversity, who believed in, all that stuff, you're going to get the right stories. And you have someone like Jack Kirby. I love that story of a couple of guys who showed up to Marvel wanting to kick his ass and making, anti-Semitic comments, and he was rolling up his sleeves and ready to go down there to beat their ass,
I mean, like, and that's the other thing, too. You had a lot of anti-Semitism back then, and, I mean, most of what the comic books started off as were, like, propaganda pieces to sell war bonds and stuff like that. Like, hey, support Captain America punching Nazis. Like, I get it. And we have Stan Lee because Stan Lee didn't want to sound...
Nope, wrong.
Really?
It's in his documentary. He changed his given name, as I said before, Stanley Martin Lieber. And Marvel put up a great quote, I'll read it at some point here, but he wanted to write the great American novel.
Gotcha.
So what he wanted to do was save his quote-unquote real name for his great American novel, and then he would go by the pen name of Stan Lee. It wasn't I'm embarrassed to be a Jew type of deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm bringing up that quote right now, but go ahead.
Gotcha. It was a hot-button issue at the time, and when you are getting mad at someone just for being who they are, like Wolverine or Iceman or Rogue, or Cyclops, like dude gets hit in the head. He can't control that he shoots lasers out of his eyes.
Yeah, what was that? The Nightcrawler, his introduction. Dude. I mean, he was running for his life, so scared. And then, I think it was Professor X that ended up saving him. I forgot the specifics.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. Like, Nightcrawler's a devout Christian. He was
like, I'm one of you, but he just looked different.
Hey, I got blue skin, and I have a tail, and I can teleport, and then there's this weird brimstone smell when I leave, but,
If you bring the Febreze, it'll be cool.
Yeah. But, like, it was the best commentary at the time.
Yeah.
You had a lot of stuff going on with the 60s and 70s going into the early 80s, man, and... you have this team of superheroes who is there to, be the light in the darkness, which is just...
Well, the day Stan Lee passed away, Marvel put a quote on their website from Stan where he said, "I used to be embarrassed because I was just a comic book writer while other people were building bridges or going on to medical careers. And then I began to realize entertainment is one of the most important things in people's lives. Without it, they may go off the deep end. I feel that if you're able to entertain, you're doing a good thing."
Yeah. And that is what I can probably say is the best thing that he's done. He's entertained.
Yeah.
He's entertained the world. He's touched so many people's lives. Like, you could look at just all the actors, but, like, you could also look at all the fans and just so many people who were moved by one man.
And, yeah, I mean, people that have had the large interactions with him or small interactions like you or I,
man.
He was always extremely kind. And, when I was talking, I asked him a question. I was not having a conversation with him. But, he was looking in my direction. I say it that way because his eyesight near the end, he probably didn't see me at all. But
he had those Coke bottle glasses, man.
Yeah, he still... the answer he gave, I felt that, he was he was playing political, but he still was, giving me the time of day.
Yeah.
It wasn't like hearing William Shatner on a panel. I've heard, seen videos of a couple of panels of his, and he doesn't take many questions, but he's also dismissive of people. And I get why.
I mean, he's shown up to panels he's not invited to, too, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, and, some things that he talks about, in terms of how fans will interrupt him, and I get why he probably does have a love-hate relationship with fans, because a lot of people can be assholes. But, Stan, though, was just kind.
Yeah.
What other?
Well, you mentioned the question you asked to him. I don't really talk about it too much, but I actually got to meet him at the Portland City Comic Con, and I don't do well in large crowds, especially like elbow to elbow, like large volume, a lot of people, and it just puts me in the wrong mindset, and I don't like it. So I'll try to find like a nice, quiet area to like sit down, regain my bearings, and like, be jazzed for like what I'm actually experiencing is like a really cool convention. So there was one day I was having a really bad kind of panic attack, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to step off to the side. I didn't realize that I was going into the area where like the people go to and from like panels and stuff, like famous people.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like kind of catching my breath and like, breathing heavily and just like sitting down, regaining my rhythm and like calming down a bit. And he's just like, hey, you okay? And I was like, hey, Stan, yeah, I'm okay. And, he's got his handlers all around him and they're like, trying to usher him. And he's like, yeah. You doing all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm having a little like panic attack, just kind of regaining my bearings. I don't really do good in large crowds. And he's like, me neither. And I was like, yeah, I feel like you do a lot of these. And he's like, oh, I do so many.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I was actually really excited to hear that you were here. There's been a lot of times where I actually missed you by like a minute or two. And he's like, oh, I'm here now. You got anything you want me to sign? And I was like, yeah, I do. It's right there. I actually have it hanging on the wall. And it's the in comics, not the Secret Wars. I have the Secret Wars not signed. But the first appearance of Black Suit Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man. And I was so happy I had it with me because I was like, I'm probably not going to see him, but I always keep it just in case when I go to a convention.
So if you had nothing, would you have him like signed your chest?
I don't know, man. Like I would have been like, give me a handshake.
Sign my boob.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was sitting there. He could have easily walked past. He could have easily just been like, Excelsior, you know?
Or had security tape.
Yeah. Like, what the hell is this guy doing here? Like, you know? But he was like, hey, kid, you doing okay? And, like, it was one of the nicest moments in my life where I'm just like, they always tell you, like, not to meet your heroes. And it's like, I was so glad because I kept missing him by like a minute, like I was living in San Jose and he was doing a signing at a shop and I got out of work like an hour late, which was shitty. Missed it. Yeah. He was at a comic book signing in Santa Cruz. Missed it. I went to Anaheim. I was in Anaheim for a convention. Missed it. And I just was like, this dude's going to pass away and I'm not going to be able to even see him. And, I got to meet him in Portland, and it's another reason why I fell in love with this city, man, is because of just experiences that I've had here. Yeah. And it was amazing and just heartwarming altogether while I'm just, like, melting down and, like, trying to keep my shit together. And then it's like, oh, hey, here's this guy that you, like, idolize. Yeah. Yeah. I lost my shit in front of Jeff Johns, and I felt so bad because, like, I was, like, fanboying so hard, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna like get this autograph and walk away because I'm shaking.
Yeah, the closest I got to fanboying out was the time I met Brian Bendis at my soon-to-be ex-employer, the strip club, and it's not really a strip club, of course, but we were. I was helping him out, and I, saw his name, but I didn't.
You didn't think it? Yeah, Brian Bendis, whatever.
He couldn't be here, but then he was reading. He had Bleeding Cool, the website up.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Hey, I visit that site too," and he goes, "Yeah, I like it, even though they talk shit about me." Like, and I was like, "Wait a minute, did you write Ultimate Spider-Man? Oh my god,
Yeah.
I mean, I did keep it cool. I didn't do that, but because I do feel that unless they start that conversation with you, you got to treat people like you want to be treated too.
Absolutely. I got to help him a few years later, and it was just really cool because
champagne. No.
Well, yeah. Well, and that was the other thing too is we met him. You and I actually met him. With the what was the comic book?
Latino Review Media covered the Civil War II issue 1 signing.
Heck yeah, and his re-release of Iron Man, where they were doing that promotion as well. So you and I actually got to meet him together, and it was really cool because he was like the big guy, and I was like, oh my god, like remember me? And I actually didn't realize the artist was going to be there for his series, and I'm actually a big fan of that artist because David Marquez. I got a bunch of his shit on the walls, and he is one of my favorite artists. And then he's like, "Oh, here, let me give you this issue number 1 of Iron Man for him to sign."
And that's the thing about Bendis signings; he gives away stuff. So.
He gives stuff all the way. Like if you're really cool. Not a dick and not just hounding him for something, like give him his space. Yeah. He is the nicest guy to talk to.
Like Rose City Comic Con when I first went in 2016, I sat in on a panel that he did, and the first guy that came up to ask him a question, and he answered, and then he goes, "Yeah, okay, now come up here, get your drone." Give him a drone, just like that.
He is the nicest guy. The nicest guy.
Now, speaking of that, public persona, when it comes to Stan Lee, how important do you think that was for Marvel overall?
Dude, he was the face. Even after he left the company, he was the face. And, like, I get it. He has a part in it, like, and he helped create it. But, like, a lot of people don't know. Like, he stepped away from the company in, like, the 90s?
Yeah, Marvel went bankrupt. Thanks to, Stan ended up becoming the publisher. And there was just some decisions in the 90s because people in the 90s thought that comic books would be a great, investment. Like, you could buy one comic and then send your kids to college over it. And, the internet boom in 2000, it was the same type of deal where everybody was just buying all of these comics, but then comic book companies would come out with, and similar to what they're doing now, unfortunately, 12 variant covers. You had special, just a bunch
hey man,
of crap
I'm sitting on a 1 in 500 variant of Green Lantern, so like I get it.
Yeah,
I dropped like $50 on it, but the art, I love the art, man. And that's the only reason I'll buy a variant is the art on it is amazing. But I get it. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Like people...
there are people that were not fans of comics that abused the system that essentially killed the comic book market.
Yeah. Because you just have like a kid who's like, I'd like Spider-Man number 5, please. Because like,
Imagine that, buying a comic for the story.
Yeah. Yep. One of my... I used to work at a shop, and we had this guy. He would just be like, give me valuable number 1s. That's all he would ask for. And, like, I get it. But it's like, you can't predict what's going to be valuable.
You can't. I have at home issue 2 of the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. And I think with the condition that it's in, if I tried to sell it, I could get, maybe $20.
Yeah.
Which, fine.
That's great value for a comic book over time. But
yeah.
I have an issue of Batman and Robin where they...
make out?
No. In DC for a while, they would actually write swear words and then black label them over, and the black labels are not there. So there's just a bunch of swear words in my comic book. And, like, that was a very, very rare variant.
Mommy, why is Batman talking like Dr. Dre?
Yeah. And it's a variant because it's a mistake. And, like, that's usually the more valuable thing is, like, the mistake.
Yeah.
Not the, like, hey, look at this cover.
And I get it. I mean, for, the debut of Superman, sure. Box that up, have the comic book resources people grade that, whatever.
Yep.
Make some money off of that. But this, I'm glad Marvel's doing away with, new number ones, like, every year.
Yeah.
And going back to just the original, numbering, because, you dilute the value of number ones if you, like, Miss Marvel had 2 separate number 1 issues.
Yeah. They'll do the number 1 kind of thing to, like, mark the start of a new story, which is cool. But then they, like, after, like, 10 issues, they go back to the normal run.
Which doesn't make sense.
And it makes a lot of confusion for fans. Yeah. But I think being the face of the Marvel company has actually, like, made it fun, especially in the movies and like TV shows, where he was even in the newest Spider-Man video game. He had a little cameo in that too.
I saw a clip of that on YouTube, God. It was great, except that the mouth didn't move like a human mouth. It was just kind of just up, and it didn't. It wasn't as good as it could have been.
Whoever recorded that didn't record it on the PlayStation Pro. Because the PlayStation Pro and the PlayStation 4 have different processors, and the game like even says to like play it on this system for a better like graphic experience.
Right.
And like if you watch a video of it on the PlayStation Pro, it's like stands in the room, and I loved it too because he's talking about Mary Jane and Peter Parker, and he's like, you know what? I always liked you too, and I was like, oh God. Because he's come out publicly like he likes Peter Parker and Mary Jane. Like that's his home run swing. Like if they could end up together.
I mean the intro, because I've like anybody, thanks to the Marvel Unlimited app, and also Marvel's really good about
we really need to get them to sponsor the show for how much we plug it.
It's worth it though. It's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, but they are also really good at re-releasing their older issues, much more so than DC in my opinion. So I've gone through and read through the first 50 original issues. And
man, I have like 2 of them or three of them.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
But it was great because they kept on hinting at Mary Jane for a number of issues.
Yeah.
Because I guess Aunt May lived next door to Mary Jane's aunt.
Yep.
And Aunt May kept on trying to hook Peter up. But then,
let me set you up with a nice girl. And it was like, bro, your girlfriend died. No. Like, I wouldn't want that either.
You don't need to be with that blonde hussy Gwen Stacy. But the first moment, you could tell Mary Jane was different the first time you saw her.
Yeah.
Like, what was her line?
Well, it was a red... Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that shit off the top of my head.
Yeah, just like... I fell in love at that point.
Dude, like, not only was she very attractive, but she was actually, I would say, an uncommon build for a character. She was very independent, not very, like... It wasn't an Archie comic character, She was a beautiful redhead who was very independent and would run off on her own if she needed to.
But in terms of her beauty, though, she was normal, beautiful.
Yeah.
Not like...
Girl Next Door.
Yeah, not like the CW supermodel type of beautiful, which is a separate type, and, you get a lot of beautiful people.
I almost want to say that I swear... She, if you look at the definition of Girl Next Door, it's Mary Jane Watson.
Yep. And, I know you're not a fan of the movie, but the original Spider-Man with the Sam Raimi one with Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane.
I loved Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane in the first movie.
She was great, even though they didn't do much with her character.
Not really. But, like, I mean, you saw it, like, Dad's not the nicest guy. And it's like you have that connection with your neighbor, man. Yeah. You just you're like, hey.
Well, they also, they didn't play her stereotypical either, even though some of Peter's classmates were this stereotypical jock, the Flash Thompson.
Flash Thompson defined stereotypical jock, though.
Yeah. But Mary Jane was just, I mean, I had a crush on Mary Jane after that movie.
Totally. Totally. And, like, upside down kissing in the rain, even though it took 250 takes? Come on.
He keeps falling down.
Well, he kept choking. So, like, he had the mask, and he can't breathe through the mask. And then... The rain. Yeah, the rain was, I guess, a murder on him. So he was, like, choking in between takes.
Yeah, with
and
it going down his nose.
And going up his nose, So, but, talk about characters, likable characters, relatable characters. Boom, Mary Jane Watson. There you go. Oh, God.
Yeah, and fully independent woman, but something guys would want to achieve as well. I mean, that's one thing I'm jealous about Peter Parker, about Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane Watson.
If we talk about Peter Parker's love interests, you have...
Who was that one that he dated for a while after the One More Day? There was a woman that he dated for a while that he was dating, interested in her, but there was always some sort of a disconnect.
There have been a few.
I think it was one of some of the issues immediately following the One More Day. She had glasses.
I want to say it was what was her name? Charlie Cooper.
Sounds about right.
She's a police officer, and that was kind of a thing. But if we look at notable girlfriends of Peter Parker, Rogue from the X-Men, Charlie Cooper, who was a police officer, she actually figured out that he was Spider-Man. There was a Glory Grant, Felicia Hardy, Kitty Pryde. Black Cat from the X-Men. He actually dated quite a bit of X-Men. He had a weird thing with a new character called Silk. If you haven't heard about her, look her up. She's pretty great.
Yeah.
Silver Sable, if you're familiar with Silver Sable. Sarah Rushman, who I believe was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, the one I was talking about, Claire Cooper.
Claire Cooper. Can I get a picture? That's Charlie Cooper. Oh, yeah.
Carly, not Claire. I misread it.
Yeah.
All right,
Carly Cooper. We both. Gwen Stacy, of course. Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat.
God damn.
So not only was she a anti-hero, but her personal connection to Peter Parker was also very interesting as well in regards to her father. Also being a hardened criminal, and it's a testament to the bad boy / girl phase, and it's you're gonna have one of those in your life for sure.
God, I have a lost episode to prove it.
Oh my God, I remember I was running around with a girl in high school, and she would get in fights, and she smoked pot, and she was so edgy. And I'm sitting here, and I'm on a roll, perfect attendance, all this shit, and just straight laced.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I'm Sterling. I like physics.
It's 8 o'clock. You better go to bed.
And I was a Dudley Do-Right kind of guy, and she's just hey, let's ditch. And I'm I don't ditch. And I remember getting in this big old argument, hey, I'm not doing that. And then, but she got me to drink alcohol in class. Oh, man. So I'm sitting there, and it's summer school, so mind you, it's summer school.
Right.
But she had this water bottle, and I was hey, it's really hot. Can I have some water? She's oh, yeah, you can have some water. And I take... those weird Costco water bottles, or Kirkland water bottles or whatever. They're about yay big, and 15, 16 ounces, I think. I can almost down that in 2 gulps.
Right.
So I grab it, and I don't put my mouth on it because germs, gross. And I fill my mouth full of it. So, like, you know, like, I don't, like, chug it, but, like, I, like, fill my mouth up, and I've got it over my head, and I bring it down, and I close my mouth, and my cheeks, you know, like, chipmunking full, and I'm like, this burns. Why does this burn? And I'm like, well, okay, I can't spit this out. I'm in the middle of class. So I have a full mouth, and my mouth is huge because I'm enormous. I have a full mouth of vodka, and it turned out to be vodka.
Oh, boy.
And I like sit there and I drink it, and I'm like, whew. And if there was a match in front of my mouth, it would have caught fire. I got so drunk. And I'm like sitting there in the middle of school, not even I haven't eaten because it's not lunchtime yet, and I'm drunk.
You're like Elliot from E.T.
Oh my God. And I'm sitting there and I'm so goddamn drunk. And, you know, I was fine for a bit, and then like it like came in a wave where I was like, okay, I'm just going to put my head down. And like the room's spinning and all this shit. And I hadn't had alcohol. I'd never had alcohol at that point. And I think it was like sophomore year. And I was so sick, and she thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And her friend and one of my other friends, they're all drunk. They're all drunk in the middle of class. And I'm like, this is what's fucking going on. Like, when these people are being so dumb, it's because they're dumb. They're dumb. They're, like, not fucking around. They're, like, drunk. They're super drunk. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm, like, trying to do my homework, trying to, like, not essentially get caught in the middle of class.
Who would have thought you have to take a breathalyzer in algebra class?
Oh, my fucking God. It was government.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, nope. Not talking to this girl anymore. No, sir. And then I ended up sobering up after lunch, but I was, oof.
Reminds me of the first time I got really, really drunk. I was either 19 or 20. I went to see Tomorrow Never Dies, the James Bond movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Pierce Brosnan Bond movies.
That was actually a very good premise for a Bond film.
I mean, one of his best, and then it went downhill from there.
I liked GoldenEye. Tomorrow Never Dies was really good.
GoldenEye was all right. I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Gotcha.
The Tina Turner song written by Bono and The Edge was garbage. But Tomorrow Never Dies, I love the Sheryl Crow song that opened it up. But about halfway through that movie, he's in a hotel room waiting for the bad guys, and he has some Smirnoff vodka, and he's pouring drinks, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm thinking, you know what? If James Bond can do that, so can I. So after the movie, I went to there's a regional store chain there called Meijer's. Not like Fred Meyer, but it's funny. Fred Meyer is actually owned by a company based out of Michigan called Kroger. And in the Midwest, Fred Meyer, all I knew of Fred Meyer as was Fred Meyer Jewelers.
Gotcha.
They didn't have the stores there. But anyway, I went to the Meijer's that I knew of, bought some vodka, went home, made some baked potatoes, and drank it all. And threw up for the rest of the night. Oh, man. Just potatoes and vodka everywhere. That was my Russian moment. Vladimir Putin would be so proud.
Oh, my God. I had a really bad experience where I had not a friend. I found someone who essentially had alcohol poisoning, and we were trying to help her and keep her alive, essentially. Mm-hmm. And we called 911, and we kept her alert, but we also just understood that she probably needs to get all this out. Mm-hmm. So she had 2 bottles of vodka, it turned out, to herself.
God damn.
Yeah, and she almost died. And it was crazy because they ended up pumping her stomach right then and there with the ambulance. So, like, I'm sitting there trying to keep her awake, trying to keep her alert, just trying to keep her talking. Mm. And then my other friend's just trying to get her to throw up the whole time. And it was awful. Absolutely awful. So, she ended up being fine. She had a weird sore throat for a long time, like horse, because they, like, jammed the pipe down her stomach or her throat. But she lived. She was okay. She was back to school the next day.
Right.
But god damn. Kids, if you're going to drink responsibly. And if you drink, don't let your first drink be Malibu, and don't let your first drink be vodka.
Or if you drink too much, at least have a funny story.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, my 23rd birthday, I went out with my dad and my grandma. I don't know why. I wasn't popular. So we went to a bar, and I started drinking Boilermakers, which, folks, they're not aware. It's a shot of whiskey that you put into a glass of beer, and then you drink.
Gotcha.
I drank 7 of them. At the end of the night, I was singing karaoke with a guy with Down syndrome. And then I don't remember anything after that.
Gotcha. My 21st birthday, I actually was hanging out with my friends, and what happened was I never drank. I never drank before I was 21, and if I did, it was like a shot, like a beer, like nothing crazy. And I was at home or like spending the night at someone's house.
Right.
And I was always the designated driver. Always was. And they were like, you're 21, you're going to get fucked up, and it's going to be great. And I was like, okay. So the month before my birthday, I drank 2 shots and 2 beers. And I did that, right around dinner time. And I did that to kind of get a tolerance, because I knew I was going to be drinking quite a bit.
Right.
And I knew that I was going to be drinking a lot of hard liquor. And word to the wise, do not drink beer and hard liquor. Either or, before or after. If you're going to drink one, drink one. If you're going to drink beer, start with beer, end with beer. If you're going to drink martinis or like cocktails, just stay with hard liquor.
Or do what Ric Flair did. Anytime he would be at a public establishment and everybody would buy him drinks, him and I know Frank Sinatra did it as well. They would take a drink, and then when nobody was looking, they would dump it.
Yeah,
and then it would be empty, and then
yeah. I did that at high school parties because I did not drink and I wasn't going to drink. Mm-hmm. So I would take a beer bottle, dump it out, fill it with water. That was all I did.
Yeah, Sterling can drink them all. He's like Andre the Giant. Yeah. 50 beers, let's get him more.
Oh, man. So it just was a great way to, like, have people leave you the fuck alone and, like, also be responsible.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting drastically off topic.
Well, we can kind of segue this, because Stan, in the early 70s, had a story that the Health and Human Services Department wanted him to write, and that was a Spider-Man story about Harry Parker using LSD.
Oh.
He wrote the story, and the Comics Code Authority said, no.
Oh, wow.
That. And Stan Lee said, suck it. And, he released it without the approval of the Comics Code Authority, and it was really popular.
Wow.
It was a story, I believe it was issues 96 through 98, where it was Spider-Man facing off against the Green Goblin, but the subplot, Harry was dealing with LSD, and in today's world, it's heavy-handed and whatnot, but this was the first time that any major comic book company went out of their way to tell an important story about drug use. It wasn't glorifying it. It wasn't doing stuff that, Frederick Wortham, the doctor who in the 50s said that comics would lead to, juvenile delinquency and all that stuff. It didn't do anything that he did, but it opened the doors for what they were able to do in other companies like DC with Speedy getting addicted to heroin.
Dude, other characters who like got AIDS. Mm-hmm. That's really, really cool. I was not aware of that. Mm-hmm. I usually like to collect old issues of Spider-Man, and that is definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yep.
It always was in the back of my mind, especially with stuff like that, because I grew up with a dad my dad's a lot older than most dads my generation. I don't know. So, like, when I was growing up, people's dads were, like, 25 to 30, maybe 40. And like my
dad was 75.
Yeah, my dad was in his like 40s going into his 50s when I was in like grade school and high school.
Oh man.
And he was just of a different generation. But it was always funny because people would like, you know, people's parents would meet my dad and my mom and they'd be like, "Oh man, you guys are the coolest." And like my dad's like, "Yeah, check out my vinyl records," you know? My dad has the coolest fucking vinyl collection you will ever see. He has a bunch of Hendrix, like original art album art and all that stuff, and it's so fucking cool. And he's got this old record player with like a diamond tip,
right?
And it's so cool.
Back when music was good.
Yeah. But when you look at that, like he was going to parties and he was hanging out in an era where like people were really doing a lot of like discovery, and like people would take stamps, drop drops of acid on them, put them back to where they were, and then, you know, you'd go to lick a stamp and you'd have a fucking trip. And like you wouldn't even know what's going on, so it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
And my dad would tell me these stories and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, people would be dropping acid and then like fucking with other people who weren't or didn't want to drop acid because they thought it was funny." And I'm like, what?
I tried acid before, twice.
Yeah.
The first time I tried it, I did not realize how much it would fuck with you.
Yeah.
So I was working at a gas station at the time, third shift. I got home. I was angry at my boss. He was a dick. And my boss was so bad that there was an episode of Monday Nitro that I was able to attend in Grand Rapids. And the sign I had was "My boss could suck my balls," but TNT blurred it out. You know, watching it on the WWE Network now, I can...
You saw yourself? Oh, yeah. My God.
It was funny. But anyway, I go home and my friend Chris at the time, he sold me a couple of taps and I was like, fuck it, I'll take it. Take it. And then... Did
you take it by yourself?
Yeah.
You didn't have like a spotter or anything like that?
Nope. I went to bed.
Oh.
And then woke up and then just... like the microphone right now that we're talking into is like in my hand's reach. I'm touching it right now.
Yeah.
Under acid, to me, it would be on the other side of the room, whereas your refrigerator felt like I could touch it right there.
Oh, my God.
One cool aspect, though, was, you know, I had the TV on and MASH was playing. I closed my eyes and I was in MASH. And did it later with Die Hard. Okay. I was in Die Hard. So
oh, my God.
It was
again, not condoning the use of LSD.
Unless you have a really good story to tell.
Oh, man. Oh, God. And that's the other thing, too, is I've met so many people who have had very good experiences with it, but they're telling me stuff where I was like, if I was to take it, I'd probably freak out and, like... I wouldn't take it again. I took it just to say I did, really. Gotcha.
But it can't. I know Steve Jobs, you know, took it a lot and swore by it.
He wrote a book about it. Yep.
Yeah, he said everybody should have at least one trip on it. And
damn.
Yeah, I do think that it can make you see things in a different way.
Yeah.
You know,
it gets you outside of your own body. Again, not condoning the use of drugs.
But if you got a funny story to tell, find us.
Like, share, and subscribe in the comments.
Go to FT Nerdy at Twitter and leave it. Yeah, anyway.
There's this one time where I saw a snake on my shoulder. Oh, shit.
But back to Stan.
Oh, damn. This has gotten very tangential, but I'm having a lot of fun.
I mean, I think that's what you should do with anybody that passes away. I mean, you know, like when my mother passed away, I told jokes at her wake, knowing she would like it, but you know, telling stories like I'll tell it again, and my sister would be like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" But my sister was on the couch, like the couch was like up against the wall, and behind it was this large window, and my sister was on top of the couch crawling, pretending she was a cat, and I tried to get her off. I didn't want her to hurt herself.
Yeah,
and then my sister was kicking at me, and then once she kicked me. But was holding on to her, and I let go, and her knee went through the window.
Oh, God.
You know, it wasn't hurt. I mean, there was a curtain that protected us. So
okay, I was going to say, she didn't, like sever her leg, and now she's, like...
We call her Eileen now.
I was going to say. Oh, shit.
No, but she did that, and I was like, oh, you did it? You're the one who's going to be in trouble? You need to call Mom now and tell her. Oh. So she called, and, you know, was crying, and like, I broke the window, and then hung up the phone. And then, like, 5 minutes later, you could just hear a car just speeding down, and I swear I didn't see it, but in my head, my mother did like a Dukes of Hazzard turn into the driveway. The moment my sister got out of the moment my mother got out of the car and slammed the car door, my sister bolted upstairs.
Oh my God!
And I'm like,
angry parents' cars have a very specific sound.
Yeah, but my sister ran upstairs, and I could have run up and grabbed her too, but I knew that if my mother was
if you're in arm's range.
Yeah, if I went upstairs, there was going to be a lot more than just yelling that was going to happen. So I stood down there and took the brunt of it, and I got in trouble, even though I was totally in the right. So, but I told that story, and I do think that when somebody passes away, you should laugh. You should.
I completely agree with that. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of family members pass away in my life, and I've had a lot of friends pass away in my life, which is sad. Because a lot of people my age and from my hometown die very young, and it was really, really shitty. I remember, I think I was in my junior year of college, and in the month of February, I think I had like 14 friends pass away.
Jeez.
And it's rough, man, and it's really rough. And
like real life Breaking Bad.
And it was from stupid stuff. Like, I had a friend get mad and punch a window, severed an artery in his arm, and I had another friend who was dealing with depression, and it is challenging. It's, something that people live with every day. And
depression sucks. I remember this girl in high school was always goofed on. There was one time to where we were in a lunch line. She was in front of me. I was behind her. But these people behind me were trying to, goof on the both of us, seeing we were a couple, and I didn't think anything of it. But a month later, she killed herself.
Yeah, man.
And I'm sitting there thinking like, I didn't know her, but could I have said something? Could I have stood up for her?
And that is one of the hardest things about losing a friend or just losing someone in general is like you do a lot of this. Like, what could I do to have helped? What could I do to prevent stuff like this? And it's a little selfish because you're focusing a lot on yourself rather than like the person.
But you view life through your own eyes. I mean, that's
exactly.
That's why you're going to do that.
And just like losing a friend, you lose someone like Stan Lee, and you focus on the positive, which is always good. I always like to focus on things that make you laugh. I lost my grandma at a young age, and she had like really bad dementia, and it was really rough because like you'd be talking to her, she asked you the same question 5 times in a row, and I remember one time my older cousin, I was really young, but he was getting so frustrated with her. And it got to a point where I can't remember what happened, but he fell down, and he essentially took a table cover with him, and it took a bunch of plates and silverware and all this shit down with him, like old stuff, and it's just broken. And then she's like, "Who are you?" Like, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And it's the saddest fucking thing in the world, and. It can be the most frustrating thing, but looking back on it and being around the people you love and talking about it makes you fucking laugh.
Yeah.
And it is so goddamn funny looking back that, like, you can't even help but be mad. Like, you can't be upset. You just got to laugh it off.
And that's the thing with Stan. I mean, in his documentary, With Great Power, which is actually free to watch on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
He talked about, the letters to the editor page. Mm-hmm. And he talked about, specifically changing it to where, he would edit it to where if somebody wrote in, "Dear Editor," he would say, "Hey, Stan." And then if they said sincerely, William Williamson or something, he would change it to, "It's from Billy."
Yeah.
And then he would respond, "Hey, Billy." He, from the very start, established that personal connection with people that you don't get with DC. DC is always a corporation. Marvel was Stan's company.
Yeah.
And
Stan the man.
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, he had a very personal touch to everything. He made sure that he was involved in like television series, cartoons, movies. And that's always been like the most fun to see, is like looking for the Stan Lee cameos in everything.
Or yeah, I mean, Saturday mornings for me in the early '80s. You know, greetings, true believers. It's Spider-Man and his amazing friends. You know, what I love about him is similar to what I love about Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
In the fact that, you know, for the longest time, I mean, they both share a lot of the same qualities. I think the one that I respect the most, and I try to do with, you know, my creative outlets, they have absolute 100% belief in their product.
Yeah.
And they're always treating it as if it is, you know, the most popular thing in the world, but they are also doing their best to go out there and sell that. They use a lot of hyperbole.
Yeah.
You know, like Vince McMahon with the whole, with Monday Night Raw, they call it the most watched, you know, weekly episodic television series, which is simply not true. The Simpsons, you know, beats them hands down, but I love that hyperbole, though.
Yeah.
And Stan was, you know, did more than his fair share of that.
I remember seeing him at the premiere for Ant-Man, and he's taken a bunch of, like, you know, promotional shots, but, like, I remember him saying, like, wow, look at that. I made that. And I'm just, like, sitting there, and I'm like, this has got to be, like, the greatest moment in this dude's life. Like, he thought this up, and, like, not only is it, like, huge.
He got to live to see it.
Yeah, man, that was, like, I'm like, fuck, I'm getting a little emotional. But, like, yeah, like, you see a lot of people, like Vincent van Gogh, and, like, a lot of artists, a lot of writers, a lot of musicians, and like they had their moment in time, and they were in a point where like they're like, man, I don't even know if I'm that good. And it's like, nah, man, not only are you that good, you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, Stan, like, I remember he wouldn't even tell people what he did for a living for a long time because he was like so afraid of like backlash or like
it wasn't that
being looked down on.
Yeah, I mean, the quote I read earlier, I mean, he was embarrassed for a bit.
Yeah.
You know, which, because at the time, again, the Frederick Wortham guy, he wrote a book, I forgot the name of it, but it doesn't really matter. It was one of those, every generation has it. They have that moralizing person that comes out, this form of entertainment's bad. I mean, they did it with the Three Stooges.
Yep.
And the Three Stooges have definitely stood the test of time.
And to see Stan not only like persevere through a lot of that, but come out on top is one of the wishes that I could have for anybody who's trying to do something.
Yeah, because for the longest time, you know, we've talked about DC before. When it comes to Superman and Batman, I think the reason those movies did come out when they did is I think they were the easiest ones to pull off.
Oh, of course.
You know, I mean, with the Incredible Hulk, like I mentioned, the TV show in the 80s, they had to radically change that entire story to make it work for television.
Yeah.
And, you know, comics that they were telling in Marvel couldn't really be told truthfully until computers.
Yeah.
You know, once Jurassic Park showed that, you know, CGI could definitely be as effective as it was, then people could believe, you know, in Superman, the Christopher Reeve movie, it took a lot of work to convince the audience that a man could fly.
Totally.
It took computer graphics to convince an audience that a man could swing through New York City with you know, spider webs.
I remember seeing that preview for the first time for like the Spider-Man movie, and it was with the Twin Towers back then, and they had to like cut out a bunch of that, which was like kind of shitty. They had to do a lot of reshoots.
No, they just edited out the twin. Even though during the middle montage when they're going through the audience, they have some construction workers talking, but they weren't construction workers. They were actually filming at the site of
Ground Zero.
Ground Zero.
Yeah. And I just remember being so excited. I was like, dude, fucking Spider-Man. Fucking Spider-Man.
And it came at the right time. I mean, I tried to bring it up during the Greatest Movie Ever Championship tournament, but it coming out when it did, right after 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, I think you know, to me, it was The scene where the Green Goblin has that trolley on the bridge and
Choose!
the choose, but then you have the people of the city of New York just kind of throwing stuff at the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And, anybody who lived through September 11th, whether you were in New York City or like me in Grand Rapids, Michigan, you'll never forget it. I mean, I'm getting somewhat emotional right now just even talking about it.
Dude,
but,
my dad was on a plane flying to New York. He was a pilot flying into JFK. Didn't know where he was for about a week. Oh. It is just fucking terrible. But yeah, the city of New York, the people from New York are some of the toughest fucking people in the world.
Yeah. Hi, Maura.
Yeah. No, what's up? And you got a lot of respect for him because it takes a whole lot of moxie just to live there. And you see it a lot in Spider-Man. He's like, yo, I'm from New York. Best city in the world. And it's like, okay, like, we're over here in Portland and it's pretty great. No, best city in the world, New York.
Yeah. And I mean, like, Maura had that attitude when she was here as well. I mean, and that's why, she opened.
This pizza's shit. It's better in New York.
Maura is never shy about giving
Oh, God. These bagels are trash. And I'm like, what? They're bagels. It's bread. It's bread.
Oh, my God.
Nah, better in New York.
Maura's so gonna get after you for that.
I don't even give a shit. You know what was fucking funny, though? In the newest Spider-Man movie, I actually loved it because they're at a sandwich shop and they're arguing about sandwiches. And I was like, nah, best sandwiches, East Side. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, because you get shit like that. You get like, nah, best Philly cheesesteaks, Brooklyn. And you're just like, what? They're Philly cheese. No, Brooklyn. And you get it, like, you get a lot of passion. My family grew up, my mom's side of the family are from New Jersey. And God damn it, if you get them in a room all together and they're like loud, they're Italian, they got gold chains, and like it. I love them to death.
Your family's the Sopranos.
Fuck, I love them to death. And
Uncle Paulie's here. He's making a special sauce.
Ronnie, you got Ronnie, you got Gregory, you got Kevin, and I love my family to death because they made me who I am, and that city made them who they are, and it's just never going to be the same. And I have cousins who didn't even grow up in there, but like they're all around family, and it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming for a lot of people because like you meet my family and you're just like, are they yelling at each other? Are they okay? Why are they fighting? And I'm like, they're talking, like chill. And like
it's like watching an animal documentary on
TV. I mean, I moved to Portland and like I grew up around all these guys my life, and my aunts, my grandparents, like it's just it's who you are, and you can fit the scene, do the thing, but you get pushed, and that type of person that you are rises to the top, and you're just like, hey, no, fuck off. Like, you ain't gonna push me around. I'm gonna fuck your shit up if you don't talk nice. Like, back off.
Do we gotta bust some legs here?
Yeah. I don't care. Get my uncle over there. He'll fuck you up.
Uncle Paulie. What? What do you want?
Oh, man. My uncles are the toughest, nicest, coolest guys you'll ever meet. And
do they know where Jimmy Hoffa is?
No. My mom, man, she's told me so much like stories about our family, and I'm just like, I probably wouldn't put it past my family to be related to somebody in like, I don't know. But
did you ever have the Corleone type of wedding?
Yeah, just like one guy going into a room to see a bunch of dudes, and he's just like, "What do you want on the day of my daughter's wedding?" Like, oh God. But again, New York, Spider-Man, It was a prime time for that movie. Spider-Man 2 was like the peak of that. That was great.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the comics, though, what really strikes me today is rereading the 9/11 issue they did, written by
Oh my
J. Michael
God!
Straczynski.
Yeah, I have actually a couple issues of that because it was really moving.
Just the opening page alone, to me, the emotion on the opening page where you see a very small thing of Spider-Man and he's saying, "Oh my God." And then you see Ground Zero there.
Yeah.
To me, that's just as emotional as the final page of The Death of Superman. And just, while you can quibble and have some nitpicks about the story, about seeing Doctor Doom and, Magneto there helping, which you can argue that
they're not... If you look at them as villains, they're not villainous in a way that, Latveria, he's like, everybody's literate. Everybody goes to school.
Magneto, though, I think Magneto would use Magneto that I'm aware of would use 9/11 as more of a rallying cry to get people on his side.
Totally. It's like, hey, we're going to show people how great mutants are because we're going to help.
Yeah, but again, let's be clear. That's just nitpicking. It's
storytelling.
It's
storytelling.
And it's something we talked about before. Any bit of artistic endeavor, whether it's a comic, a movie, a podcast, music, whatever, is up for critique if the artist in question puts it out for public consumption.
Totally.
But it's still emotional as hell.
Yeah. And I have a lot of strong feelings about 9/11 personally. Again, my dad was flying there. He was in front of his cockpit with a fire axe, and he believes, with corroboration from the flight attendants on the plane, that there might have been people on the plane. They had him looking at pictures of people going through, just pointing out, seeing if anybody was there. But it was really scary, man. And no calls in or out, everybody getting detained, everybody questioned. It was scary, and those feelings every time come up 10 years later. Even then,
I woke up at 11:28 that morning. I was unemployed, but living with my mom because that's when her first bout of the brain tumors hit.
Gotcha.
I woke up at 11:28. My TV was on, but I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Walked down the living room, and my mother was sitting there crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's going on?" And she just pointed at the TV, and it was NBC, and Tom Brokaw was talking over the images of the rubble of the World Trade Center and then the Pentagon, and I'm like, fuck?
Yeah.
I immediately went back into my room and, went to the TV and started turning the channels, and it really hit me hard when I turned to MTV and they had the news on.
Yeah.
Usually when a big news event happens, you go to your local channel or, like CNN or something like that. But MTV with the news, my God. And then, I had to take her to a doctor's appointment that day. I was annoyed at the doctor's office because they had the light rock station going on. So Michael Bolton was playing on the worst day in this country's history. Oh, fuck them. And then just traveling home, looking up in the skies and not seeing one plane, one chemtrail.
Oh, man. Everything got grounded in an hour.
And then the worst for me was we finally got home at 8 o'clock. We pulled in about 7:59. We walked in the door at 8 o'clock. The TV was already on the CBS at 8 o'clock, and that was the first images that they showed publicly of people that jumped to their deaths. I lost it then.
There's actually a really good documentary called... I think it's called The Great Evacuation. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a lot of boat captains using their boats to evacuate the island of New York. And it was crazy how fast and how coordinated they were and how many people they actually assisted.
Well, and you talked about the planes. I mean, the fact that they were able to ground all the planes in as quick a time as they did, that... Anybody that was involved in that deserves a round of applause.
Honestly, it's a really moving day, and a lot of, and I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but a lot of people from Marvel Comics are actually stationed in New York. A lot of the publishing team, New York. A lot of the artists, New York. And
New York is its own character in Marvel Comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the absolute beauty of what they did as well, because that's another thing that made it relatable. Even if someone like me who's never been to New York, I'm still familiar with a lot of the landmarks.
You're like, it's the Daily Bugle building.
Or, I mean, he would pass by the Empire State Building. You're aware of that. You know New York, whereas Metropolis, Gotham City, you get why they did that, but it's not as
Well, I just played the Spider-Man video game. I could probably walk around New York just from how accurate that game is, except for like the Avengers building and like, you know, the Baxter building and like,
it'd be funny, like going to where Morrow works and taking a screenshot of that. Right across the street from Central Park. And somebody actually did that. They looked out there, they were playing the game.
Yeah. And oh my God.
They looked out there.
It was New York University. Mm-hmm. Because Peter Parker went to the school. I think it was NYU.
I think they generalized it in the comics. I think they call it State College. I don't think they call them NYU.
I don't know if it was NYU.
Empire University.
Empire, something like that. And totally. Mm-hmm. I love that video or the picture. Whoever posted that picture, you're the coolest. But
probably a Trump supporter.
It was really cool to see, like, a lot of people working together, getting together, helping each other, and that was one of the coolest things to see about the United States. Is like, honestly, if we can all rally behind an idea and really work together, we are unfucking stoppable.
Yep.
And it is the coolest thing to see. Like, we've probably been at our most divided lately, but it's nice to know that we can, when the chips are down, get together, work together, make shit happen.
Yeah.
But getting into a lot of stuff, man. You want to tackle Israel next? Jeez.
No. I do think I want that call from New York.
But a lot of love to our friends in New York. A lot of love to the developers, artists, writers, all in New York. You guys are great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where Stan got his kicks, got his stomping grounds going out in
born and raised New York.
Yeah.
New York boy.
Jeez.
Born and raised. And you know that and I think, you know, to what you're speaking about, to what the New Yorkers were able to do at 9/11, I mean, that's a lot of what the characters in the Marvel comics do. You know, Peter Parker, average guy, did some stupid stuff, but then, you know, once the shit hit the fan, he was able to get up and, you know, be the hero that New York deserved.
Yep.
You know, same with the other characters in the Marvel universe as well. And like I said, New York is very much a character. I mean, I remember the Lego Marvel Superheroes game, and, you know, going through New York is fun, even if it's a Lego version of New York.
Yeah. So, that was a good game. Yeah. That was a really good game.
I need to buy a wireless controller because I have it on Steam, but without a wireless controller, I don't want to use my regular keyboard on my computer.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you get you have a USB plug-in.
Yeah.
I have a USB plug-in controller. Those are way better than the wireless controllers because they'll lose connectivity pretty easily.
Got it.
But I forget what we were talking about.
Stan Lee.
Who's
that?
Yeah. Stan Lee's great. Can't say enough stuff about the guy. But even in, I think it was Spider-Man 3, where he had a really great cameo.
With what I recorded on Monday, I ended with that little bit.
I love that.
Even one man can make a difference.
Yeah. And with Stan, we see that, man. The one-man band, you put it together with a lot of great people. Jack Kirby... man, I can't even think of all these names.
Steve Ditko, John
Buscema,
Buscema or something ends with an A. John Romita Jr. and Sr. But I'm glad you segued to that because nobody's perfect.
No.
Stan has some of the critiques that have gone his way in the past are the fact that he does take credit, that people assume he takes credit for more than he really deserves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a question that will never be truly answered. But, thinking about it today, I think Stan is in a different boat than, say, someone like Bob Kane.
Yeah.
Bob...
Well, I remember him and Jack Kirby had a really bad falling out because you had a lot of debate about who created what and who influenced what. And it's like, nah, man, they're both great. Stan, I just felt like was more personable. He was just a really, he always had a smile on his face. He was always cheery and happy and
And Jack Kirby, if you've ever seen pictures of him, I mean, you could imagine him with like a cigar at a poker game or something like that. Not a bad guy.
He was a rough and tumble guy.
Yeah. But I think from what I've been able to glean, a lot of it boils down to, like, Stan would give an interview talking, because even up to his last days, he would always say nothing but good things about Ditko, about Jack Kirby, about the other people he worked with. But what would happen is if somebody's writing an article, they would always focus on Stan.
Yes, and that's where you can't blame Stan, because I always felt like whenever I heard him talk, he was always trying to give credit where credit was due.
Yeah.
I even heard him talk about where they got the idea from the Venom suit. Like a kid
wrote in, and they gave him like $250.
Yeah. I fucking loved it. And like, you got to give the kid credit. Like, he was like, it was a great idea. We ran with it. And he raises people up. That was always the great thing to see.
Whereas with Bob Kane, the person that everybody is familiar as the quote-unquote creator of Batman, I've talked about it on the show before. There is a documentary that's on Hulu called Batman and Bill.
Yeah.
Where you learn about the history of Bill Finger. And Bill Finger was, in a lot of ways, the Jack Kirby to Bob Kane's Stan Lee.
Yep.
I mean, and I think the part where Bob Kane went south on is that with money involved, if he ever publicly came out and said that, Bill Finger had a lot to do with this, then he's losing a lot of that money. And I think there may have been some of that as well with, Kirby, Ditko, and Lee as well. I don't know how much, but, between Kane and Lee, I think Stan Lee was a lot more diplomatic. I mean, sure, maybe he could have been a little more, when it came time for contracts, could have been a little more giving, could have been, said, hey, this guy deserves a little more than I do, because, Stan was, some of the documentaries would talk about some of the little things he would do, like make little records for a Marvel fan club, the Mighty Marvel
I love that.
Society.
Yeah. He even had almost like a radio show that they would do, and they had like buttons and like pins.
Yeah, the NMMS. Mighty Marvel marching. Yeah, and they had their own theme song, and they would interview everybody in the bullpen. But that's another. DC never did that.
Did you ever see the What If where instead of the Fantastic Four, the Marvel bullpen became the Fantastic Four?
I know of it. I haven't.
Oh my god! I love the What If universe. It's like the best questions you never asked. But oh man,
I'm actually glad they're bringing it back. I was at Things from Another World. If you're ever in Portland, Oregon, great comic book shop. Bought it was a What If Peter Parker became the Punisher?
Dude, so good.
Yeah,
I picked that one up. It's like, oh hey, Ben died, and it's like
everybody must die.
Yeah. Oh my god. Because that's the other thing too. If you ever read Ultimate Spider-Man, there is a really good interaction with him and Nick Fury. Because he's just like, hey man, what the fuck is your deal? Like, why you following me? Why you messing with me? I'm just trying to help people. And he's like, you know what? People who've had shit happen to you turn out way worse. And I'm just waiting for you to cross that line. And it's like, I don't. I live by this rule. I've got this thing. And it keeps me on the straight and narrow. And it's easy to go down that line, but I don't. And I remember reading that, and I'm just like, I closed it, put it down for a second, and I was like, shit. Because, a lot of people they get really religious, or they get anti-religious, and they're like, what's preventing me from doing X, Y, and Z? And it's like, you know what? Your motherfucking conscience. And, like, oh, if I don't have this weird thing telling me not to do something, like, I'm going to do this. And it's like, no, just be a good person.
Yeah.
It's hard, but,
I mean, myself,
be a good person.
I'm an atheist, grew up in mishmash of religions, grew up a Seventh-day Adventist. My parents were that off and on, tried to be a Presbyterian for a while. My ex-wife, as I mentioned on the show, was a Jehovah's Witness, so I tried that for a while, but ultimately...
I like birthday cake.
Yeah, that and calf sex. That's good too.
Yeah.
But you just hear some of these people that will come out and say, "I'm religious because if it wasn't for a God, I would be killing people." And it's
like, why? What? No.
Why
don't kill people, even if you're good or bad. Like, don't kill people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in a higher being. I believe that once I die, I'm dead, and nothing else will happen after that. But yeah, I don't want to die. I don't want to kill other people.
Yeah.
I think so.
And like, that's the other thing, man. Like, I'm Catholic, and like, I don't know if that explains it enough, but like, Catholics, they're not too crazy about following all the rules most of the time. And like, it's like, we're almost like fair weather Catholics, but like, God's always there for you if you feel like you need him. Always someone to talk to.
Reminds me of that Bill Hicks joke where it's like he's in Alabama, made a religious joke, and then two hillbillies came up after him like, "I don't like your jokes about Jesus," and he's like, "Well, forgive me."
But like, I get it. A lot of people, need a guiding force, and that's always really great. Being a good person, not wanting bad stuff to be done to you or anybody else. That's a pretty good guiding force.
But I think that's the importance of comics, too. And I think, I mentioned a bit about the hero's journey. I mean, the types of stories that are being told in comic books today are no different than King Arthur's stories, no different than religious texts.
Totally.
They are essentially the same type of stories.
Yeah.
And
now, are we saying they're religious texts?
No, of course not. No, Spider-Man is not a religion.
Yeah.
But still, you see these characters. They're meant to... They're meant to show you. They're meant to be a guiding force. Yeah, just as much as a Jesus, another great fictional character.
And that's when you see stuff like this. Is like you hear about heroes throughout history, people who are larger than life, and things to aspire to, which is hard. It's really hard. You don't wake up Superman.
Yeah.
You don't wake
close.
up. Yeah. I like your tattoo. You don't wake up with spider powers, and you don't wake up a billionaire. And it's.
But like a religious text, like a religious figure, it's. I see no problem with somebody seeing a Superman or seeing a Spider-Man and stating, I want to be that good of a person.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to help people. I want to be a force for good in this world. I want to be a better person. Mm-hmm. That's always something to aspire to. And you have a great guy like Stan who is like, hey, like, you're going to struggle. You're going to have really hard times. Like, shit's going to get bad. Guess what? There's people here just like you in these comic books. They just happen to have spider powers.
And if you're lucky, a hot ginger will be knocking on your door.
Oh, man. If only.
Yeah.
I have a very lovely redheaded gal in my life right now, and she is wonderful. My jackpot. But to leave,
and you're like, when is the show going to be on?
No. To leave a world better than you left it is the best thing you can ask for, and I think Stan definitely did that.
Yeah, and thanks to forward thinking on Marvel Studios' part for the next few Marvel studio movies. We're going to see some cameos because they have already said that they've filmed a number of cameos already for future films.
Great.
With the understanding, knowing that his time was going to be soon to come.
Yeah. One of my favorite things was what was it? It was in the Ant-Man and Wasp film. They shot like 15 different cameos with Stan Lee, and I remember the one that got into the movie was the funniest because he's trying to like unlock his car and his car shrinks, and he was like, "Well, the 60s were fun, but I'm paying for it now." And I fucking died. But I think you can find him on YouTube where they're just going through him. Oh, and it's just a close-up on his face, and he's like, well, should have gotten the rental, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put a YouTube playlist together of some of those. But you can find videos on YouTube with all of his cameos from all of his stuff. Like the first one was the Incredible Hulk TV movie from '89.
He was a juror.
Yeah, just sitting there, and I guess the Hulk was going crazy, but Stan was just sitting there.
Oh, God. What was really funny was his cameo in the Daredevil TV show. Did you see it?
It was just a picture. And
it was a picture of him as a police officer on the wall, as a police chief.
Now, I wonder what they're going to do for... more than likely, I suspect any future cameos from him will be just like that.
That'd be nice.
Pictures in there. Yeah. But with computer graphics being what they are, I mean...
I really hope they don't do that. I really hope they don't do that.
What I would not have a problem with would be them going the route of what Alfred Hitchcock used to do. Alfred Hitchcock used to always have a non-speaking cameo in all of his films. Like in Psycho, when Marion was walking into her place of work at the beginning of the film, Alfred Hitchcock was just outside waiting for a bus.
Yeah.
If they did something like that to where you turn and look and it's just a CGI stand, I would have no problem with that. If they tried to get somebody to voice him,
gotcha.
That's where I got the problem.
I mean, I really liked it when he was in the video game. That was really cool. I think in the new film coming out, Into the Spider-Verse, I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that looks good, yeah.
Yeah.
Even with Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man.
I think that's awesome. Like, they had him playing the perfect character. He's got a very particular voice, Nick Cage, and he's got a very yeah. I'm gonna take my face off, and okay, I'm not going to go into Face Off. Fuck that movie. But,
love that movie.
Oh my God,
it's ludicrous but amazing.
Yeah. But I think that was a perfect casting for that character because he's edgy, air quotes, finger quotes, edgy, but he's not that edgy. He's approachable. That Spider-Man Noir, if you can pick up a trait of Spider-Man Noir, holy fuck. Mm-hmm. It is so good. And then to see, like, the Peter Parker as the main character, kind of been there, done that. Like, here's all these movies, whatever, let's focus on Miles. I like that. And I hope he has, like a pass the baton to Miles Morales kind of thing. With Stan in there, that'd be great.
What I would love to see, too, is since they're going to different universes, why not sneak in a cameo with Tobey Maguire? Why not sneak in a cameo with Andrew Garfield? Why not acknowledge that?
Oh, in the cartoon. Oh, yeah. They do. And they're little head nods, but nothing major.
I wouldn't expect Tobey Maguire to have like a major role or anything like that.
Gotcha. Have him doing a voice or something.
Just like a quick thing, like Daniel Craig's cameo in The Force Awakens, to where if you didn't know it was his voice and weren't expecting it. Yeah.
Jeez, as the freaking Stormtrooper?
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Because I didn't notice until someone said something like on like a post afterwards, and I was like, "Oh wow, okay,
it is Bond."
Yeah. Ah man, and that was right after a Bond film too, right?
Maybe.
I think
maybe it was Spectre.
I think so.
Yeah.
Good times. Favorite Stan Lee cameo?
Mine, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
As the Watcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I mean, it's too bad that couldn't have been his last one, because I think that would have been an amazing coda. Just discovering that him popping up in all the movies was
him as a Watcher.
Yeah, I think that was a really great touch that they added that.
If you pay attention to it too, he's talking to the Watchers.
Another one though that I'm really interested to see if they follow up on was Infinity War, where he's in a school bus and says, "Haven't you kids ever seen a spaceship before?" Which may seem like a funny line, but being that the next film is going to be Captain Marvel dealing with space threats and whatnot.
Oh man, I would love a young Stan, because they're youngifying everybody in that movie.
Yeah, what if they brought that bus driver character back for Captain Marvel, and then he would have a reason.
You heard it here first. Keep an eye out for that cameo. Oh,
that would be great. But
that would be funny.
But yeah, that the Spider-Man 3 cameo was
one was probably the most solid.
Yeah.
My personal favorite was from Deadpool, where he was the strip club's DJ.
Yeah. Brandy on the main stage.
God. I remember him sending out a tweet, and he was like, I don't want to spoil anything, but the Deadpool cameo was my favorite. And I was like, oh, God, I'm excited.
Yeah. And the cameo he did for the teaser for Deadpool 2 was fun. Where, Deadpool's like, shut up, Stanley. But it's going to be a different world, because now we don't have that one major figure in comics anymore. I mean, we have some smaller ones. I mean, someone near and dear to both our hearts, Brian Bendis, he's definitely getting his work out there, and he does appear on talk shows every now and then, but he's not at the Stan Lee level. Nobody's rushing to see a Brian Bendis cameo in, shows that he's involved in, which is unfortunate. They should, but, do you think we will ever see someone like a Stan Lee again?
Not for quite some time. I don't think so, honestly. You're getting tastes of it with Brian Michael Bendis, but he is kind of transitioning. Like, he's not a creator of an entire company. He was, a guiding force. He was a North Star, which was always great, something to look towards and head move towards.
Yeah.
But Stan, dude, Stan was like the sun. Like, everything revolved around him.
Kind of like Vince McMahon in wrestling.
Exactly.
I mean, and there are a lot of parallels between those two. I mean, it makes me wonder that when Vince McMahon passes away, what will the WWE do? I mean, will they continue to go to Saudi Arabia and collect blood money for pay-per-views? It's when you have someone that is so associated with some form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Because, again, as you said, Stan Lee wasn't officially associated with Marvel for well over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yet he was Marvel.
Yeah.
And, they don't have that figurehead anymore.
Yeah.
Joe Quesada maybe, but then again, we're talking about somebody that the casual fan, not a hardcore comic book fan, would be able to recognize. So not everybody has the knowledge of like a Kevin Smith or something,
Yeah. Oh, God. I love Kevin Smith. He's fun. He's fun.
No, he is. I mean, I like his podcast. When I was in my 20s, I loved his movies. I can't really watch his movies now.
You're not the same kid back then.
That's the thing, though, because he's writing stories that are deep for 20-year-olds, but when you're 40...
Well, and you see a lot of his stuff now where he's in his older age, and
because I don't give a fuck stage.
Yeah. But he's having fun. Like, you can't knock a guy for having fun.
Yeah, I for the longest time, my big complaint is I was one of those people that thought Kevin Smith could do more. Because he definitely has the talent to, not only write but direct a, $100, $200 million movie.
Have you seen his run on Green Arrow?
Yeah.
The comic book. I loved his character, Onomatopoeia, that he created. That was great. He was a villain that only made the sound of like whatever he was doing, like shooting somebody or like killing someone.
And Kevin Smith was smoking weed, watching Police Academy, and was like, "Yeah, let's get that guy." In the comic.
Okay. So this is the thing, and a lot of people give like Kevin Smith a bunch of shit. He didn't smoke pot until Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He, Seth Rogen got him into weed. Yeah. So, like, everybody's like, oh, smoking weed, blah, 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 snoochie boochies. And it's like, I smoke cigarettes. And, yeah. I really like Kevin Smith and Jay Muse because he got me into podcasts, the Smodcast and all that shit. Mm-hmm. I loved that their sponsor was Fleshlights. That shit made me laugh so hard every time I listened to it. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to go out there and buy a Fleshlight, but whenever he had a panel, he always gave out a fucking Fleshlight. And I've seen Kevin Smith talk, I think 6 times, and he is super fun to listen to because he always has a great story. And I love listening to him talk because I've listened to him talk so many goddamn times, and I listen to all his podcasts, and he doesn't really talk about the same thing too many times twice.
You don't hear the same Bruce Willis story over and over again.
Yeah. He had one of the funniest fucking stories where he actually had started smoking pot again, and he and his wife are smoking pot, and like they ordered groceries, but they had them delivered to him, and he was staying at Ben Affleck's house, and I guess his address was pretty well known because people lived with Ben Affleck, and they would just fuck off and like mess around with people,
right?
And I remember they're calling up this delivery service, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to get all this stuff and like ice cream and like Fritos and like Funyuns and shit and have it mailed to the house or delivered to the house." And he's like, "Cool, what's the address?" And then it's like, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, "Fuck you, Affleck." And I just was like, oh my God. Dude's got good stories. Good fucking stories.
Yeah. And what I've learned most from him, especially, is you got to do something that makes you happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's talked about his experience doing the movie Cop Out with Bruce Willis, his first real Hollywood movie, if you really think about it, where he was just a director working off of somebody else's script. And
I didn't know that. I thought he helped with that script.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he had a very bad experience. So, you have to be happy.
Well, and that was the other thing, man. Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis, I don't see that working too well. And, like, if you saw Cop Out, it was...
Bruce rough. Willis, I used to love him as an actor. I mean, grew up watching Die Hard, of course. So, of course, I'm going to love him.
Die Hard's a great movie.
Moonlighting, great TV show. But Bruce Willis is one of the laziest fucking actors around. I mean, he's now doing direct-to-DVD movies, which is just...
I mean, it's the way of the action star. You saw that with, like...
but he's so much better, though. Yeah. I mean, because there are some actors like Schwarzenegger, he's never going to do Hamlet. So he is going to be pigeonholed in that action type of thing. Even though with Schwarzenegger, Schwarzenegger's taken some chances, like that movie, was it Maggie, where his daughter was a zombie? He's done some really great films lately. Schwarzenegger's done some really great under the radar type of films. Definitely recommend that. There was another one, I think it was called Killing Gunther. It was on Amazon Prime.
What the fuck?
It does. It won't be his version of Terminator 2.
I was going to say, he kind of laid under the radar for me after he became governor of California.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I think with his age, we're never going to see peak Schwarzenegger again.
Yeah. I mean, Expendables, that was fun.
It was fun, but it could have been better.
Of course.
I think the closest we're going to get to peak Schwarzenegger again is with the new Terminator movie coming out, just because everybody's back in it.
Yeah, and it takes place after 2?
Many years after 2, but
it's like a retcon.
They're ignoring all the other sequels that came that didn't have any sort of Cameron influence. Cameron is producing this, and he was behind the story.
Gotcha, of 1 and 2.
And the new movie.
Yes. Excellent. So, I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I mean...
And like, it's time travel, so, like, you're like, yeah, those are alternate futures. That could have happened. Bam.
Yeah, but hopefully they get back to the core concept of the Terminator, because I think they've spent too long a time just focusing on nonsense, and then Matt Smith being the Cyberdyne system or whatever was just ridiculous. But yeah, Linda Hamilton back kicking ass, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I remember going back to Stan, one of the things I saw online is like the dude never really went to a barbershop because his wife cut his hair. Mm. And I feel like we have not talked about her at all through this because
briefly when I talked about the Fantastic Four deal, but
yes,
yeah, he loved that woman.
Oh my gosh! And I feel like because of her, we got a lot of amazing stuff.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Well, through Stan, because she was a cheerleader for him. You know, like, yeah, do what you love, have fun doing it, and supporting him the whole time.
I mentioned it on a previous episode, one of the episodes Maura was on, but you know how in that documentary on YouTube with Great Power, he talked about just their marriage together and how, and she just
69 years they were together.
Yeah, and she talked about how she loved to spend his money, and he was just sitting there smiling, and I guess the first time they met, he was she lived in she was a model. She lived in a house with other models. He was there to date somebody else, but he knocked on the door and was like, "I think I'm going to fall in love with you."
Yeah,
and within 6 months they were married. And yeah, I mean, Bill Hicks said, you know, you're either going to find that one special woman in your life, or you're going to have a handful of mediocre ones. I've fallen in the latter, but hopefully, you know, I can find a woman that I could adore just as much as Stanley adored, you know, Joan, and vice versa. Yeah. You know, hopefully I can find one that doesn't create lost episodes.
I think after she passed away, though, like you definitely saw
Todd McFarlane. He said about a month ago he visited Stan, and because he was also concerned because Stan during the last year of his life had a lot of nonsense going on.
Yeah,
and he was talking to him, and you know, Stan just kept, you know, not saying it like over and over again, but he brought it up multiple times in a conversation that he missed Joan, and wanted to see her again.
Yeah,
and you do see that a lot with people that are married such a long time. You know, like one person passes away, and then within like a year or less, the other person just dies.
Yeah,
they give up,
and it's really hard because like they were the comic book power couple. And I think that's why he was so active in the community and they worked so hard as they did, is because they were just this dynamic duo kind of bouncing off of each other.
And she encouraged him. I mean, how, you know, I've had partners that didn't exactly encourage me. Like, I had a partner that, you know, when I first started my blog a couple of years back, that led to me writing for Latino Review Media. Yeah. That led to me doing this podcast right here. They're like, I don't think anybody would want to read a blog about comic books, and look what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
You know, it would be great to find that someone that, you know, just go out in style.
And that's the hardest thing too, is like, if you find someone who is actively putting you down. I remember, you know, like video games are one of my passions. They're one of my very big passions, and I've had people who are just like, you know, that's kind of childish, and it's, you know, something for kids, and blah blah blah. And it's like, I mean, it's fun. You know, you don't get mad at someone for playing baseball. You know, baseball's a kid's game. And
would you rather I send it for a bowling league?
Yeah. And if it's something that you're passionate about, like, be supportive. Now, if your passion is cocaine, probably be less supportive. But, you know, like, I was going through college, and I was having a hard time, and like, one of the ways I kind of unwind is through video games. And if it's a game of Halo, or if it's just, you know, solitaire, or Candy Crush, who knows? But like, to actively put someone down for something that they're passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, it would be one thing if, like, when I first got married, I was still having the single mindset, so I would play video games for like 4 or 5 hours, and we're talking, I was just married, had a kid on the way.
Gotcha.
I had a stepson who was 1.5 years. I should not have been doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I should have been responsible. That's one thing, but, you know, just someone who comes home, plays an hour of video games to unwind after work, and you're giving them shit for that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, there are people who lose their jobs. There are people who, you know, lose their apartments, things like that. But, like...
And those people, how the fuck are you going to play a video game?
Yeah. But, I mean, like, you look at someone like Stan, where it's like, hey, man, write cartoons, make comics, have fun, you know, think up superheroes, and it, like, you're gonna make a living out of this. Get a real job, you know. Like, and it's like, no, make it what you want.
You mentioned cocaine, and I think of a Sam Kinison bit where he was like, you know, if you want to break up with a woman, what you do, you buy some coke. You take lots of coke, just drug out, just snort it all, just 3 weeks, you know, take her TV, sell it, buy lots of coke, and she'll come up to you and be like, oh, I'm so sad, you're throwing your life away, I have to leave, and she goes away. It's flawless.
Fuck. God damn. Oh, fuck.
Kinison was amazing.
Jeez. What I'm trying to say is, if you're passionate about something, follow it, and it can probably take you somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got our show. I'm pretty excited about that. I've done podcasts in the past, and it just never really picked up. And I mean, we got a Patreon going. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We still have to build that more. I mean, you know, I don't think we're using that as effectively as we could, but that's a different.
I was going to say it's something.
Oh yeah,
and I love, like, my parents, because my parents are just like, you know, if you're passionate about it, pursue it, follow it, and make something of it.
And the most important thing I think we need to learn from Stan is the fact that when the Fantastic Four hit, he was 39.
Yeah,
you know, like,
yeah, oh yeah, I'm 25. What am I going to be doing for the rest of my life? And it's like,
I mean, in Portland here during the winter, it does get cold, and my jacket is a Spider-Man jacket.
You know, I love that Spider-Man jacket, though.
Yeah, I bought it. You know, some parents like, is he like one of those guys? Does he want to give candy to my kids? Does he have a van? No, but
get your kid away from me. They're dirty,
stupid kids. But the reason I bought that when I turned 40 was a reminder to myself that, you know, life does not end. You know, I mean, because you know, Stan had what could be considered a successful career in comics up to that point, you know, at 39, but didn't have that one defining character or the multitude that he created. But he kept on.
And that's the other thing. That is an excellent point, because you get a lot of people, man, who are like, you know, I thought I was going to be a CEO of my own company when I was like 21. And you're just like, what? Who the fuck are you? What? And
fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg.
Fucking Mark Zuckerberg. That guy. Oh God. I gotta show you something after this. But you know, I've got a cousin. He recently is celebrating the birth of his first child. He came out of the military after, you know, he went into the military not knowing what he wanted to do.
Right.
Got a little bit of direction, got a little bit of purpose, found his way, took advantage of the GI Bill, and
now he makes meth.
No. Yeah, no,
I'm kidding.
He's got He's got a successful life, a beautiful wife, a beautiful baby. Named him Lincoln after Link from Zelda. I love it. I love it.
I shouldn't say anything.
I don't even care. I am the proudest, whatever you call a cousin who as a kid. I don't know.
I included the audio of it on our Star Wars discussion part 3, but when my son Luke was 2, I made a little YouTube video recreating the "I Am Your Father" scene from Star Wars. Because what Luke would do at that time was, if you said no, no, he would say yes, yes. So I tried to get him to do it, and he did it once, but then just throughout the rest of the video, was just looking at me and just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, but I have a lot of family who struggled, really, really struggled, and found their way, and they're making a life for themselves way after their 20s. I'm about to hit 30, and I couldn't be happier. You know, my credit card debt's paid off. I'm working towards my student loans, and I went to BlizzCon for the first time. That was great. And
and you're gonna have a solo show.
I'm thinking about doing a solo show. Yeah, I'm not.
You have to do a solo.
Okay. I'll do a solo show. But to think about what could have been and where it would have been, I blew out my knee, blew out my back, messed up my stomach. I had my appendix removed. Almost had to drop out of college, and had some of the worst struggles of my life. And honestly, if I didn't get derailed, I'd probably be at a very high-paying job at in an industry that was very niche. The college I was going to had like 100% career placement,
right?
And
McDonald's College? No,
no. Well, I don't know. The California Maritime Academy. And a lot of the maritime jobs are very well paying. But a lot of the people who come out of that industry are very unhappy. It's a struggle because you're away from your family for long periods of time. And there's a lot of concern in that industry around alcoholism, drug abuse, and all this stuff. And even though I missed out on a really good job, I made a lot of great friends, and I went down a path that I feel like made me less of an asshole, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of battling with that recently myself. You know, I said at the beginning of the show about the strip club that it will soon be my former employer. The big reason I'm leaving it is the fact that at the end of the day, they pay good money, had a lot of good benefits, but if you're going home every day feeling like crap, just because of some of the stuff you have to deal with, then you really have to reassess whether it's really worth it.
And honestly, that's like one of the hardest things. And we can take a note from our man Stan, who is just like, take a risk, put yourself out there, try something new.
Yeah. You will never know if you're going to be able to succeed at something if you are not going to make the effort to do it. Yeah. And to me, it's like, I used to be one of those people that wanted to be rich and famous. I wanted to write and make Stephen King type of money. But to me, the most important part about working toward your dream is the work part.
Yeah.
Because if you're not working towards it, it will never happen.
Yeah.
You can't control how people are going to react to you. Because, like Kevin Smith, not a good filmmaker per se, but he did enough good that got noticed and then got him into the industry.
Totally.
And I think he'd be the first one to admit that. So I'm not knocking. I'm not knocking him.
I always love that man. He's like, I don't belong here. I don't. No.
But what he proved is that with enough moxie, with enough gumption, with enough belief in your own product, and that's another thing about Kevin Smith that should be admired is the fact that a lot of his work kind of ties in together like a comic book. Before there was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was
I love how all of his movies tie together.
I mean, the first movie,
love it.
First movie I saw of his in theaters was Chasing Amy.
Gotcha.
And at the end of the movie, Jay and Silent Bob showed up, and I didn't realize it at the time, but they were referencing Mallrats.
Yeah.
And at the end of their scene, they said, "Oh, we're going to go to Illinois. guess where they show up in Dogma, his next movie, Illinois. They were going because they thought they went to Illinois because they thought that the Breakfast Club, the town where the Breakfast Club was supposed to happen, was real. So that's why they went to Illinois with the Bluntman and Chronic money. But
God, fuck, I love that fucking movie. Like, that was like one of the best things. Is like he had running gags the whole time. And I loved seeing them in Clerks 2 after that huge hiatus of, like, his movies. Like, God, so much fun.
Clerks 2 was flawed, but it was worth it for the ending.
Yeah.
Just them in the shop, the camera pulls back, and then it goes to black and white. That was beautiful right there. There's a website and an app. The website's tubi.tv, tubi.tv. But if you download it on your iOS device or your Android device, just look for Tubi. Uh-huh. They have a lot of unique TV shows and movies. One of them is the Clerks animated show.
Yeah. I actually have that on DVD.
I remember when that came out, but the only episode ABC played was the second episode, which was a goof on flashback episodes, and
that was the final episode.
No, there was the second episode that was if they had done it in chronological order, it was going to be the second episode, but it was the one and only episode that ABC showed.
Oh, wow.
But it was a flashback to all the events that happened in the first episode because Dante and Randall were locked in one of the coolers.
Yeah, the meat locker.
Yeah, and they just kept on talking about the previous episode, which is funny. But it's funny when you see all 6 episodes in order, you get the joke.
Yeah.
But when you're just watching it, well, what are they...
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Yeah, God, man, I'm like flashing back to all this time because, like, I loved Jay and Silent Bob and all that stuff growing up, and I had a pretty good relationship with my little sister, and she fell into stuff like that because I was just watching it, and she was like, "What's this?" Mm-hmm. And she went to New Jersey and went to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, and she got this little jelly wristband, and it just says Snoochie Boochies. And she had it for the longest time, and I thought it was the funniest thing. And she ended up giving it to a friend who moved away to Germany because he was like, I love that bracelet. I want that bracelet. I love that bracelet.
Right.
And when he moved away, she gave it to him. But
does she meet Walt Flanagan, Ming? Does she meet anybody?
I forget his the taller guy with the goatee.
Steve Dave?
Yeah, Steve Dave. It was really, really funny. They had one in L.A. for a bit, and they closed that one. Yeah. It just wasn't as popular.
I remember when the Comic Book Men show was on Netflix for a while. Uh-huh. And when I saw it, they did it kind of like other pawn shop type shows where somebody would come in and then, they would haggle over how much will you buy this. And on Twitter, I was like, how does the Secret Stash make any money? And Kevin Smith liked the comment. But,
oh, man, it's all that AMC money.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I went, and like going back to Stan, we lost a great one. We
did.
And we're not going to see anything like that in a long, long time. And it's going to be a bummer. And we're probably going to see the repercussions of it. Little bit of a vacuum will probably happen.
And I think too, with how entertainment is actually distributed to the masses these days, I don't know if it would be possible to have another Stan hit because comic books were in their infancy, and a lot of these companies were just putting this stuff out there just because they knew it would make money. They weren't worried about the content. They weren't worried about the IP and whatnot. So they let the artists and the writers, have their way essentially until the comics code and all that stuff. But that's a different story. But these days, I think with entertainment being so tied in with corporate culture. I mean, Marvel being owned by Disney and Disney, doing stuff like firing James Gunn like they did, which. You can't defend James Gunn's tweets whatsoever.
Totally.
I mean, because I think jokes.
Well, and the movie being put on hiatus.
More than likely, it's canceled.
Yeah,
I mean, because you've had cast members like Dave Bautista going on record stating he doesn't want to do it if James Gunn's not involved.
Well, and that's the other thing too. We have like a pretty big cliffhanger with Adam at the end of 2. We have a lot of big shit going down in in the Avengers 4. So, like, I mean, a lot of people are gone, but...
I think there are seeds, though, that... Because James Gunn did say that if he had stayed on, after the third one, the cast that we knew as the Guardians of the Galaxy would have gone, and Sylvester Stallone's cast would have taken over, because those characters essentially were the original Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics. So I can see them kind of rushing that.
That's the other thing, too, is, like, Stallone's old. And
I wouldn't want to tell him, though. That guy...
Oh, yeah. You mean right hook, man.
Ripped.
Yeah,
I mean,
fuck. Holy shit.
Hey, you.
Hey, yeah, Adrian. But I don't know how long he's going to be around. So then if you're trying to build a franchise even further, like, is he the guy that you go with? Is he the hill you fight for?
Well... I would say with him, you do have to take that into consideration. You don't want to make, 7 movie plans with him. Yeah. But you could do it to where he leads them into one adventure and then dies at the end. Yeah. Or something like that. Because I think Stallone, it was weird. After Spy Kids 3, he seemed to get his career back on track. He did some okay movies in the 90s, but nothing that stuck out.
Creed 1 and 2.
Creed 2 coming out in a couple of weeks, bringing back Ivan Drago. That is amazing. I really wish, though, because there was initially in Rocky Balboa, the last official Rocky movie, not because Creed is essentially a spinoff, but Clubber Lang was supposed to make an appearance, but apparently Mr. T was too busy doing infomercials or something. I don't know. But because I don't know, the Rocky movies are actually free to watch on YouTube now as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I've been watching bits of all of them, and I love the opening montage to Rocky 3. I think it's one of my favorite movie montages. Period. Because in that, it's. They play Eye of the Tiger. It's like 2 or 3 minutes, but they tell like half a movie story in that 2 to 3 minutes of Rocky becoming champion and then just beating all these people. But then Clubber Lang is angry and he's running and Eye of the Tiger. It is a great montage. But who knows?
Good times.
Yep. So I think we're going to wrap it up. We're almost at the 2.5 hour mark.
Jeez.
Yeah, so... I think
give 2 nerds a mic and see how long they can talk.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I mean, if I could do this on dates. But anyway, so we will leave it at that. Stan Lee was an amazing figure. He was a complicated figure, but he was human. And I think, he exhibited the best and at times the worst of his characters. And that's, nobody can look in the mirror and say they're perfect. I know that there have been times where I've been an asshole. There have been times where I've done bad stuff. And that's my ex-wife again. Damn right, motherfucker. But it's embracing both the good side and the bad side of yourself and just doing what you can to fight for that good side. Totally. And I think that's, ultimately what the legacy that he leaves with the characters that he did. And, I truly think that, these characters, same with the DC characters as well, because a lot of it is in the same vein. These characters, 200 years from now, they're going to be spoken of like we speak of King Arthur's stories.
Totally.
I think there's still going to be Batman in some way, shape, or form. There's still going to be Spider-Man in some way, shape, or form. And that's all due to a goofy guy who grew up in New York.
Yeah.
So, all right. We thank you for listening to us here.
Yeah. Signing off, True Believers.
Yeah.
That was a running gag in my friends group. We just called each other the True Believers.
Yeah, and I feel bad that I didn't open, greetings, True Believers.
Yeah, you can put an opening message from Stan and be like, greetings, True Believers.
Yeah.
You can probably pull an audio file from Spider-Man, the animated series.
Or, well, I in the bit I did on Monday, I did find that little bit that the guest appearance he did on The Simpsons.
Oh, God. He's not the Hulk.
I did it once, I swear.
Yeah. Sure, Stan. Come on.
I think
him and comic book guy were so funny.
My favorite part, though, was when that kid came in with his Batmobile and wanted to buy a Batman, and Stan goes, "No, the thing will fit in this Batmobile."
He's just crying.
That or when he critiques Bart's comic strip, and he's like, and hey, if a career in comics doesn't work, you can also open up a comic book shop. And comic book guy's like, Stan Lee just insulted me, but in Bizarro World, that means he loves me.
God damn. I love that episode of the fucking Simpsons, man, because, like, what Homer is trying to fight his, like, rage issues, and then he gets covered in green paint and is just, like, fucking punching a car, breaks his hand.
There's a topic we haven't really tackled on this show before.
The Simpsons.
I mean, especially being in Portland, Oregon. I mean, did you see that sidewalk mural?
I have a picture of it. Yeah.
It's Lincoln High School, right?
Yep.
There's a high school, Lincoln High School here in Portland, that when Matt Groening lived in town, that's where he went to high school. But just on the outskirts of the football field on the sidewalk, he actually drew a little etching in the sidewalk of Bart Simpson and autographed it. And then a lot of the streets here, like the first street I had to go to was Flanders Street.
Yeah.
Stupid Flanders Street, and Lovejoy Street to Williger Park.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I love this city, man. This city is, like, not as cool as New York, but close second.
I will take it. I mean, I tell folks that, after my marriage ended, I got to keep Portland in the divorce. So it's definitely spurred my creative juices on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see myself anywhere more at home than Portland, because I was the black sheep, man, for sure, everywhere I was.
Yeah.
And I just never found a place to fit in, and bam, found Portland, and I don't want to leave.
My people.
Yeah, jeez. All right, signing off.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye, true believers. Oh, wait, we got to say it. Excelsior.
Excelsior!
All right.
Oh, God.
Bye.
Hey, fellas. Hey, wait, where are you going? Hey, you were supposed to be my lift home. How will I get out of here? Hey, gee, I've got so many more stories to tell. Guys. Oh, gee.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.